Chapter 1256. In the sky above Quailhead Palace, countless valley demons were rushing toward Shiji Mountain. These valley demons had different cultivation bases, but their speed was almost the same. Even though there were tens of thousands of them traveling together, they did not give off a messy feeling. Instead, they were inexplicably neat. If there were experts in battle formations here, they would be able to see that these valley demons were moving according to the ancient battle formation. Tens of thousands of people were moving in a formation. Everywhere they passed, the power of heaven and earth gathered in the formation and turned into the rumbling sound of war drums. From afar, the battle formation looked like a bird. However, this bird had 5 wings. The 5 valleys' sovereign emperors each stood in a wing of the formation, holding a formation flag or waving a sword to guide the battle formation forward. Slow. Too slow. How long has it been? We still haven't reached Shiji Mountain. I'm afraid Senior Ning has already started fighting with those locusts. We are still flying slowly behind him. Can't we fly faster? There's no other way. We've already reached the maximum speed. The advantage of our 5-winged formation lies in its lethality, not in its speed. If it's the White Horse formation, we might be able to catch up to Senior Ning, but it's not enough to fight those locusts. I hope we won't be too late. Although Senior Ning is a quasi-saint, there are hundreds of billions of locusts. There are even mature locusts comparable to immortal emperors. Even a quasi-saint would find it hard to deal with the encirclement of so many immortal emperors. Senior knows that this battle is dangerous, but he still wants to stand up for us and fight against the locusts. We only had a meal together, but he did so much for us. How benevolent. How shameful. We can owe karma to others, but we can never owe karma to a quasi-saint. We can't miss out on this battle. Fight, fight, fight. The 5 valleys' sovereign emperors were in high spirits. Everyone in the Valley Demon Army was filled with battle intent. Then the high-spirited Valley Demon Army chased all the way and finally arrived at Shiji Mountain. Along the way, they did not encounter any locusts. There was not a single locust on the mountain. If it weren't for the fact that Kismet Mountain had been destroyed by the locust demons, if it weren't for the fiendish aura and foul air that still lingered here, the 5 valleys' sovereign emperor would really have suspected that the locust demon army had never been here before. Senior, may I ask if the battle here has already ended? When the sovereign lords of the 5 valleys saw Ning Fan, they hurriedly went forward and asked with a trembling voice. How could his voice not tremble? That was an army of more than 300 billion locusts. Even if Ning Fan was a quasi-sage realm expert, it was impossible for him to deal with them all by himself. It shouldn't be possible, right? Ning Fan shut both of his eyes tightly. He did not answer the sovereign lord of the 5 valleys' question, nor did he show any reaction. He seemed to be busy with something important and couldn't be distracted. The 5 valleys' sovereign emperor was slightly surprised. Then he noticed that Ning Fan was in an extremely abnormal state. At this moment, Ning Fan was holding a strange black ball in his hand and pressing it against his glabella. They could not tell what that small ball was. Thus, the 5 valleys' sovereign emperors tacitly sent out their divine senses to investigate. After that, the 5 valleys' sovereign emperors spat out blood at the same time. The divine senses they sent into the black ball were instantly crushed into nothingness, and they suffered a backlash. What kind of black ball is this? How could it be so terrifying? Even with their status as immortal emperors, they did not even have the right to take a look at it. Then they looked at Ning Fan. At this moment, Ning Fan's chi was extremely abnormal. As time went by, it kept weakening. Eventually, his chi stopped and he was like a tortoise breathing. His body temperature also seemed to be getting colder. His body also started to harden bit by bit, and in the end he actually turned into a stone statue. It was as if he had turned into a rock. It also seemed like he was going to sleep here forever. In short, Ning Fan's body no longer had the slightest bit of chi of survival. It was like he had fallen. Seeing this scene, the 5 valleys' sovereign emperors' faces turned pale. No way. It can't be. Senior is a dignified quasi-sage realm expert. It's impossible for him to fall here. It's all our fault. It's all our fault for coming too late. Senior must have exhausted all his strength fighting against the army of locusts. That's why he ended up like this. Senior died for our Demon Valley clan. Our clan will forever remember Senior's kindness. Where are the musicians? Quickly play the music. Senior's death in battle is truly heroic. We have received Senior's kindness. It's only right for us to send Senior off. Then, the musicians of the Demon Valley clan really began to play the music in front of the stone statue that Ning Fan had turned into. Some of them were playing trumpets and some were playing swona. The music sounded sad and melancholy, as if they were playing a mournful music. Well, they were playing it as if it was a mournful music. Light the incense and candles. Offer the offerings. Scatter the ghost money. Raise the soul summoning flag. 1, 2, 3 kneel. 1, 2, 3 kowtow. 1, 2 cry. Under the command of the 5 Valleys' sovereign emperors, countless Demon Valley clans knelt down in an orderly manner, and kowtowed to Ning Fan to send him off. At the same time, the sound of crying gradually resounded. They were about to cry for their souls. In the beginning, the Demon Valley clans cried in a standard manner without much emotion. However, gradually, some of them were affected by their emotions. The more they cried, the more they cried. The more they cried, the sadder they felt. In the end, all of them cried as if the person who died was not Ning Fan whom they had just met but their own parents. Their cries were extremely sorrowful. Even the sovereign emperors of the 5 Valleys were affected by their emotions. Their eyes turned red. Senior, have a safe journey. Don't worry about us. We will carry Senior's faith and try our best to live on. I will definitely become someone who is useful to the cultivation world. I will never let Senior down. While the Demon Valley clans were immersed in grief, a person suddenly walked to the sovereign emperors of the 5 Valleys. She was the female war chariot general, who had been ignored by the sovereign emperors of the 5 Valleys. Her full name was Xian Inu. Why are you all crying? Xian Inu asked expressionlessly. Oh, it's Fairy Xian. Fairy, you may not know this, but this senior who died here came to fight the locust demons for the sake of us valley demons. Since Senior died for us, we should send him off. The sovereign emperors of the 5 Valleys answered while sobbing. Died. This Senior didn't die, right? He was just making the treasure recognize him as its master. Senior also reminded me to remind you not to disturb him if you come late. Xian Inu explained slowly. Recognize him as its master? Treasure? The sovereign emperors of the 5 Valleys were stunned. Almost at the same time, the stone statue of Ning Fan that seemed to have died suddenly changed. Cracked, the stone statue cracked and countless rays of golden light shot out from the cracks. It was so sacred that one could not look at it directly. Ning Fan's entire body was bathed in the golden divine light. He walked out from the broken stone statue like a golden god. The divine light became brighter and brighter. The divine power in Ning Fan's body also rose at the same time. Master, please call me by my true name. This is the last step to recognize me as its master. The small ball of divine pills begged. However, Ning Fan was the only one who could hear it. 9 defiance and 99 withers, divine mud ball. Ning Fan's words were drowned in the divine light. No one could hear it except for the divine ball. Almost at the same time Ning Fan called out his true name. The endless divine light around his body suddenly turned into tens of thousands of golden divine marks which were engraved into the body of the divine ball. Gradually, the divine light subsided. The golden divine marks that were engraved into the body of the divine ball also lost their light. It turned back into a small black ball. At this point, the recognition was successful. Ning Fan could clearly feel that the divine ball seemed to have become a part of his body after it recognized him as its master. That feeling was indescribably mysterious. Senior really didn't die. Ugh. The sovereign emperors of the 5 Valleys blushed. Since Senior was not dead, wouldn't their crying just be a farce? This is. As soon as Ning Fan woke up, he was stunned when he saw the huge formation of crying spirits in front of him. However, he did not ask too many questions. He had a feeling that the truth of the matter would make him speechless. It was better not to care about it. I didn't expect Master to be the dignified divine father of wood. The divine ball is just an insignificant being of the lowest grade. I can't believe that it has such a distinguished master. I'm really touched. After recognizing Ning Fan as its master, the divine ball could clearly sense Ning Fan's divine spirit level. It's my honor to die for the dignified divine father. Master, please don't take pity on me. Master, please use me as much as you can. I will make good use of you. I am very curious about your abilities. Let's use this matter of refining the ghost soldiers to test your ability. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan handed the divine ball a ball of blood light. That blood light was formed after Ning Fan killed 300 billion demon locusts. They could be used as sacrifices to refine ghost soldiers. After that, Ning Fan handed the demon soul of the demon locust old ancestor to the divine ball. It was the main material to refine ghost soldiers. Master, can you leave the 4 great divine weapons here? With the power of the divine weapons, the divine ball's power can be exerted to its fullest. The divine ball requested, the 4 great divine weapons? Ning Fan was stunned. The 4 great divine weapons referred to the 4 divine weapons: the divine refining cauldron, incinerator, millstone of spirit sense and chi and blood gourd. It was not a big deal to lend the divine weapons to the divine ball. However, the problem was that Ning Fan did not have all 4 divine weapons. He only obtained 2 of them by chance. After understanding the situation, the divine ball was a little surprised. From her point of view, Ning Fan was a dignified divine father. However, he did not even have all 4 divine weapons. It was really strange. Could it be that Master defeated the other wood gods without relying on the power of the divine weapons, and obtained the position of Divine Father of Wood? Isn't this a little too strong? The divine ball seemed to have misunderstood something. When she looked at Ning Fan again, the admiration in her eyes became even stronger. Even though Ning Fan did not manage to gather all 4 divine weapons, he still lent the only 2 divine weapons he had to the divine ball. By the way, there are still some materials that can be used to refine ghost soldiers sealed in my divine refining cauldron. You can refine them into ghost soldiers as well. As he spoke, Ning Fan summoned the virtue umbrella and sealed the materials that were sealed in the umbrella into the divine refining cauldron. Then he handed them to the divine ball for her to use. Yes, Master. After handing the matter to the divine ball, Ning Fan walked towards the depths of the Kismet mountain alone. He was going to look for the immemorial sacrificial flesh in the mountain. Obviously, to Ning Fan at this moment, eating was more important. As for the ability to observe the divine ball, it was secondary. With the power of the divine weapon, the black ball of the divine ball that was originally black and swarthy instantly became extraordinary. Its body emitted traces of golden light. She began to refine ghost soldiers seriously. After she had acknowledged Ning Fan as her master, there was a mysterious connection between her and Ning Fan. She could actually summon the ghost flower of the netherworld. Thus, countless thorns and thorns grew on the Kismet mountain in an instant. Ghost chi filled the air, and ghostly sounds could be heard. Ghost flowers bloomed among the thorns and thorns. One after another, the undying ghost soldiers walked out from the thorns and stood guard around the divine ball. Their powerful chi frightened the demons of the valley so much that they did not dare to approach them. No one dared to disturb them. What exactly is this black ball? It's really powerful. It can actually summon immortal emperors and quasi-saints out of thin air. Undying corpse slave king, undying soul-absorbing tree, undying black Qilin, undying myriad saint dragon king. Any of the undying ghost soldiers had the strength to crush the sovereign emperors of the 5 valleys. At this moment, the sovereign emperors of the 5 valleys finally realized how shallow their understanding of Ning Fan was. How terrifying Ning Fan's cultivation base must be to make such a terrifying black ball willingly acknowledge him as its master. It would not be a problem for him to eliminate 300 billion locusts at all. Look at what this black ball is holding. It's actually the demon soul of a locust demon that is comparable to a quasi-saint. What is this senior planning to do? Could it be that he wants to refine the demon soul of a quasi-saint? Could it be that other than immortal emperors, there are also quasi-saints among the locusts? This demon soul was given to the black ball by Senior Ning. In other words, even a quasi-saint locust demon was killed by Senior Ning. It seems like Senior Ning was also the one who calmed the rampage of the fire fish immortal. Senior Ning is definitely not an ordinary quasi-saint. Could he be a great cultivator from the ancient times? That must be it. This is really scary. After the divine pill recognized its master, it had completely inherited all of Ning Fan's miscellaneous techniques, including the method to refine a ghost soldier. If Ning Fan were to refine a ghost soldier, his refining state would more or less have some fluctuations. Perhaps he would be affected by external factors and only be able to display 50% to 60% of his refining standard. Also, he might be able to display 200% of his refining standard due to his extraordinary performance. All of these were possible. However, the divine pill would not have such strong fluctuations. She was not a living being. Instead, she was the manifestation of the divine ability of an ancient divine being. Her existence was more like a meticulously designed machine. No matter what kind of influences existed in her surroundings, she would always be in 100% of her refining state. She would not be affected by anything, and there was no such thing as extraordinary performance. The first one to be refined into a ghost soldier was the old ancestor of the demon locust demon. Originally, the old ancestor was already unconscious after Ning Fan had set up layers of restrictions on him. Now, however, he woke up after suffering a great deal of pain due to the refinement of the ghost soldier. However, he was only awake. The restrictions were still binding him. He could not move at all, and his heart was already filled with fear. Stop. Stop. Lord Divine Pill. What are you trying to do? Are you planning to kill me? You can't do this. My ancient locust clan has been serving you for generations. We have been plundering blood and flesh for you to consume. Why do you want to help an outsider kill me? The divine pill did not answer. Or maybe it did answer. However, the old ancestor was not qualified to hear the divine pill's voice. Seeing that the divine pill ignored him, the old ancestor became even more furious and roared. I respect you and address you as my lord. Do you really think you are nobler than us ancient locust clan? You are just a divine pill. Moreover, you are an ownerless item of the lowest grade. I am after all a quasi-saint realm expert. Even if you kill me, you can't kill me. The divine pill still did not answer him. He just secretly activated the power of the divine smelting cauldron, and used its power to slowly refine the old ancestor's demon soul into the 10,000 spirit blood. It's fake. It's fake. This is a divine tool. A real divine tool. A divine tool must have a divine master in order to operate it. Could it be? This is impossible. The old ancestor was in despair. At this moment, Ning Fan's figure appeared in his mind. That figure gradually overlapped with the countless ancient divine beings in his bloodline memory. At that moment, he understood the reason why the divine pill turned against him. At this moment, the old ancestor recalled the admonition that was passed down from generation to generation by his ancestors. When the ancient country was destroyed, we ancient locust clan betrayed the ancient divine beings, and caused the deaths of countless divine beings. One day, the descendants of the divine beings will come to take this karma. If you encounter the descendants of the divine beings, run away quickly. If you can't, hand over the divine pill that you stole and apologize to the divine beings. Perhaps, you can preserve the bloodline of your clan. Remember, in front of the true divine beings, we ancient locust clan are not worth mentioning. Damn it! Damn it! If I knew that person is the descendant of the divine beings. If I knew. The old ancestor's consciousness gradually blurred. Before he died, he seemed to have heard the cold laughter of countless ancient divine beings coming from the boundless netherworld. For some unknown reason, the speed of refining the 10,000 spirit blood was terrifyingly fast when the divine pill activated the divine smelting cauldron. The divine pill seemed to be able to perfectly unleash the power of the divine smelting cauldron. Even the demon soul of a quasi-saint realm expert could not last too long under the power of the divine smelting cauldron. Different from how Ning Fan controlled the divine smelting cauldron, the divine pill did not use the cauldron as a magic treasure. Instead, he used it as a cooking tool for cooking. After all, to the ancient divine beings, a cauldron was originally used for cooking. The baleful chi of the fallen quasi-saint realm expert dyed the clouds in the sky red and the grass and trees in the mountains red. All the valley demons were shocked by this scene. As the culprit, the divine pill herself did not show any emotion. Her existence was just like Ning Fan's sword. The karma of the people killed by the sword and the blade would not be on her, but the owner of the sword and the blade. Thus, Ning Fan, who was searching for the immemorial sacrificial meat in the mountains, suddenly felt that his baleful qi had become much stronger. However, he was not bothered by it and continued to search for food. In the end, the refinement of the first ghost pawn was barely successful. Ning Fan could vaguely sense that there was one more undying ghost pawn under his command. The undying ancient locust had the cultivation base of a first-level quasi-saint. The divine pill heaved a sigh of relief. She had just acknowledged him as her master, and she was eager to make a contribution. As a matter of fact, the success rate of the refinement of an undying ghost pawn was not high. She was considered lucky to have succeeded on her first attempt. It should be master's strong luck that affected me. It's really good to have a master with a strong luck. The divine pill said happily. At this moment, she was a happy divine pill. The reason why she was happy was partly because her work was going smoothly. On the other hand, she was also happy because she got her revenge. She couldn't remember why she felt this kind of pleasure. The divine pill who was without a master could not retain too much of her memory. Therefore, she could not remember clearly that these locust demons had betrayed the divine spirit race countless years ago, and caused the death of countless divine beings. Therefore, the happiness she felt now could only be attributed to her instinct. Master also gave me some other materials. I'll use them to refine the second ghost pawn. According to the difficulty of refining an undying ghost pawn, being able to refine one is already enough for me to be praised. However, if I can refine more, Master will definitely be more satisfied with me. Thus, the divine pill took out another material. This time, it was the vital soul of the Extreme Ice Exalted Immortal. Extreme Ice Exalted Immortal, male, date of birth unknown. He was once a general of the ancient heavenly court, but he later defected. After the heaven and earth sects split, the White Demon sect was established. He wholeheartedly wanted to annex the Black Demon sect, and was defeated by Master in the Battle of the Lost World Palace. He was then captured. Shenwan seemed to be very proficient in soul-searching and memory-erasing techniques. As soon as he came into contact with Extreme Ice Exalted Immortal, he had a good understanding of his life. It hurts, it hurts. Extreme Ice Exalted Immortal, who had been sealed by a restriction, was in a comatose state. However, he was woken up by the divine pill's brutal soul-searching. When he woke up and saw that he was being refined, he was even more furious. What are you doing to me? Do you know who I am? Extreme Ice Exalted Immortal wanted to say something, but his mouth was sealed by a divine technique from the divine pill. I have no obligation to listen to the clamor of a cooking ingredient. She subconsciously thought of Extreme Ice Exalted Immortal as a cooking ingredient that her master had hunted down. At this moment, all she could think of was how to cook this cooking ingredient perfectly. Oh wait. She almost forgot that she was going to refine a ghost pawn for her master. She almost stewed this piece of meat. Let's get to work. Ghost pawn. After a long time, the second ghost pawn was successfully refined. The number of indestructible ghost pawns guarding the surroundings increased from the initial 4 to 6. The sixth ghost pawn was the indestructible Extreme Ice. It was a first-level demisage. Wow, I actually succeeded again. Master will be very happy when he finds out. Shenwan was even happier now. She happily took out the third material, the primordial spirit of the Earth Palace Celestial Lord. Earth Palace Celestial Lord, ancient Varch cultivation level. Its strength is comparable to a Doomsday Demisage. This material doesn't seem to be as powerful as the previous one. Shenwan glanced at the primordial spirit of the Earth Palace Celestial Lord in disdain. Don't ask where the eyes are. Only Shenwan would know that. Then, Shenwan started to refine the third ghost pawn. Unfortunately, the refinement this time failed. Wah! I've failed to live up to Master's expectations. I'm really an invincible idiot. Shenwan cried sadly. Her pitch-black, ink-like tears fell drop by drop. Every drop of her tears created a huge pit in the ground. Everything was blasted into nothingness by her tears. If she continued to cry, the entire Kismet Mountain would probably be reduced to nothingness by Shenhuan's tears. Fortunately, she did not cry for too long. She wasn't a fragile divine pill. A mere failure wouldn't knock her down. I need to become stronger. I need to become stronger so that I can increase the success rate of refining ghost pawns. The 9th divine technique, gather all things. Shenhuan stretched out her small hand, don't ask where his hand is, and grabbed at the sky. In an instant, countless spiritual qi gathered, and was sucked into Shenhuan's small mouth. Something terrible happened. Shenhuan's stomach was like a bottomless pit, absorbing the spiritual qi crazily. In just a short while, 1/3 of the spiritual qi in Quail Head Palace had been absorbed by Shenhuan. The sovereign lords of the 5 valleys and the others were frightened by Shenhuan's behavior. It was normal to breathe in and out the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. However, they had never seen such a terrifying breathing technique before. In just a short while, Shenhuan had already absorbed 1/3 of the spiritual qi in this place. If she breathes in a few more times, she would probably absorb all the spiritual qi in Quail Head Palace, turning this place into a wasteland for cultivation. What a terrifying black ball. After absorbing a large amount of spiritual qi of heaven and earth, Shenhuan's entire body became 100 times more spirited. What made her even happier was that she had unintentionally awakened a type of divine technique. The 9th divine technique, gather all things. The Divine Spirit clan had a total of 9 great divine abilities. They were called the 9 divine spirit techniques. The divine technique that she awakened was ranked 9th. Even though it was the weakest divine technique, it was enough to make her happy. One should know that Wild Shenhuan was not qualified to awaken a divine technique. Even if it was a divine pill that had recognized its master, only a few of them would have the chance to do so. She was just a divine pill of the lowest grade, but she could actually awaken a divine technique. She was so happy. It must be because my master is the dignified Father God. That's why he could do this. Shenhuan counted her luck on Ningfan. And it was indeed true. The godhead of Father Wood was extremely powerful. If it wasn't because the grade of the divine pill in front of her was too low, it might have given her an even more powerful divine technique. Shenhuan hummed a little tune happily, and began to refine the next ghost soldier. After absorbing a large amount of spiritual qi of heaven and earth, the success rate of the ghost soldier had indeed increased significantly. Even though there were some twists and turns in the refinement this time, she still succeeded in the end. Taoist Chongsang had also become an undying ghost soldier. Ningfan's undying ghost soldiers had increased to 7. Which one should I refine next? It's him then. Shenhuan chose the quasi-sage by Li Immortal Stone. At first, she thought that the refinement process would be successful again. However, something strange happened. After the Immortal Stone was refined and killed by the divine refining cauldron, its soul was not absorbed by the ghost flower of the netherworld. Instead, it disappeared somewhere unknown. In that case, she naturally could not refine it into a ghost soldier. Thus, the refinement process failed in the end. I failed again. Damn it. Damn it. I'm really a super invincible idiot. Shenhuan was a little dejected. However, she did not know that using the puppet Immortal Stone to refine an undying ghost soldier would definitely fail. Ningfan had also used the Immortal Stone to refine a ghost soldier in the past. However, he failed due to unknown reasons. The Immortal Stone seemed to have quite a big secret on it. I hope the next one will succeed. Shenhuan was a little unconfident. There were still 3 materials left to refine a ghost soldier. The first material was a 2nd-level quasi-sage Great Immortal Shenzu. He was a fellow Taoist that True Lord Northsea invited to besiege Ningfan. Unfortunately, he was captured by Ningfan. The second material was a Deer Antler Immortal with 12,000 Tribulations magic power. He was captured by Ningfan's Virtue Umbrella in the 10 Extremes reverse formation. The third material was an Immortal Lingji who was also at the Quasi-Sage realm. The medicinal power of this antler is really strong. This Lingji is also not bad. In order to refine a ghost soldier, I just need to destroy its soul. I'll leave the medicinal bodies of these 2 people for Master to enjoy. On the other hand, this great Immortal Shenzu's cultivation base is too high. It doesn't seem easy to refine him. Shenwan will work harder. Time passed slowly. The 8th ghost soldier, the indestructible deer antler immortal Lingji, was successfully refined. The 9th ghost soldier, the indestructible immortal Lingji, was successfully refined. The most difficult part was great immortal Shenzu. In order to refine the last ghost soldier, Shenwan circulated her divine technique again, and absorbed another 1/3 of the heaven and earth spiritual qi from the palace. In the end, even this second-level quasi-sage was refined into a ghost soldier by Shenwan. For the first time, the number of ghost soldiers that Ning Fan refined had reached 10. Phew. Even though I failed twice, I still succeeded in refining 6 of them. Master will probably praise me, right? Shenwan was extremely happy when she thought that she was about to receive Ning Fan's praise. However, her happiness did not last for too long. Suddenly, something strange happened. When the number of ghost soldiers of the ghost flower of the netherworld reached 10, they suddenly began to fight each other as if they were possessed. No, they are not fighting each other. They are devouring each other. What's wrong? What happened? My method of refining ghost soldiers was clearly correct. Why did such a thing happen? Shenwan was scared out of her wits. She thought that she had made a mistake. However, the fact was that the fight between the 10 ghost soldiers had nothing to do with her. Whenever a contractor of the ghost flower of the netherworld gathers 10 ghost soldiers for the first time, something like this would happen. The 10 ghost soldiers would fight and devour each other. In the end, there would only be one survivor. However, this survivor would devour all the power and abilities of the other ghost soldiers, and turn them into his own. This was the real terror of the netherworld ghost flower. What should I do? What should I do? Should I stop these ghost soldiers from killing each other? Shenwan tried to stop the ghost soldiers from killing each other. However, it was all in vain. The weakest of these ghost soldiers was at the half-saint realm, while the strongest one was the undying great immortal feat, who was a second-level quasi-saint. How could Shenwan stop them all by himself? Shenwan could only watch everything unfold with her eyes wide open. She was so anxious that tears flowed down her cheeks. In the end, the second-level great immortal feat devoured the remaining 9 ghost soldiers. He became the only remaining ghost soldier. He was originally a second-level quasi-saint. After absorbing all the power of the 9 ghost soldiers, the aura around his body became terrifyingly strong. The 5 Valleys sovereign emperor took a look at him from afar, and was very sure that the power of this undying great immortal feat was comparable to that of the Fire Palace's Firefish Immortal. This was an ancient grand cultivator. Terrifying. This is too terrifying. What is the origin of that black ball? How could it be refined into an ancient grand cultivator? Feeling the bone-chilling aura of the undying great immortal feat, the 5 Valleys sovereign emperor could not help but feel a chill in his heart. It was as if this person only needed a thought to freeze and crush their immortal emperor cultivation. They could not resist him. They were definitely not a match for him. After devouring the rest of the ghost soldiers, Shenzu Great Immortal snorted at Shenwan. It seemed that he was not convinced by Shenwan. His eyes were full of provocation, as if he wanted to challenge Shenwan to a battle. In order to control the ghost soldiers, one must have the strength to be recognized by the ghost soldiers. That was why Shenzu Great Immortal had challenged Shenwan to a battle. Unfortunately, Shenwan was already in a daze and did not care about Shenzu Great Immortal's invitation. Seeing Shenwan did not dare to fight, Shenzu Great Immortal snorted disdainfully. His body shook and turned into a mass of ghost chi, returning to the thorns of the netherworld ghost flower. Shenwan turned a blind eye to this. She was still in a daze. No, it was not appropriate to say that she was in a daze. She was scared out of her wits. I've caused trouble. I've messed up everything. The ghost soldiers that I refined have eaten all of Master's ghost soldiers. Master originally had 4 ghost soldiers, but now, there's only 1 left. Master will definitely be disappointed in me. I'm really an invincible idiot. My existence in this world is really a disgrace to the Shenwan clan. I'm even more insignificant than the most unpalatable ingredient in the world. Shenwan had a mental breakdown. Ning Fan did not know how Shenwan broke down. He could only vaguely sense that the number of ghost soldiers had increased to 10. However, he did not know why it was reduced to only one ghost soldier. Even though the number of ghost soldiers had changed, it was not a bad thing. The only remaining ghost soldier seemed to have advanced to the level of an ancient great cultivator because of this incident. A ghost soldier at the level of an ancient great cultivator, huh? I'm really looking forward to it. Speaking of which, this divine pill is really amazing. It actually succeeded 6 out of the 8 times it was refined. The only 2 failures were because of the immortal stones. Only now did Ning Fan confirm that the divine pill that he had picked up was really a treasure. With the help of this divine pill, he could ask it to do all the refining tasks that he would need to spend time on in the future. The refinement of the ghost soldier using the divine pill was considered to be very successful. However, Ning Fan's search for the immemorial sacrificial meat was not as smooth. In a certain temple in the depths of the G-State Mountain, Ning Fan looked at the empty offering table and frowned. The fragrance of meat lingered in the air. However, the sacrificial meat that was supposed to be stored here was nowhere to be found. Where did the sacrificial meat go? Could it be that the immemorial sacrificial meat in this place had also cultivated into a demon and hid somewhere else after seeing me coming here? While he was pondering, Ning Fan suddenly felt several gazes peeking at him. He turned his head expressionlessly and looked at the broken statues in the temple. Coincidentally, he saw a strange scene. At this moment, all the statues that were originally benevolent and kind were giving him a ferocious smile. A junior from the Dharma Ending era actually dares to come to the Ziwei Immortal Domain's Jiangshan State Temple to steal. You really have guts. This person doesn't seem to be an ordinary junior. I can feel a trace of detestable qi from his body. It's the qi of Zido Immortal Cultivator. Zido Immortal Cultivator deserves to be killed. What a pity. This person is just an immortal king. It's boring to kill him. Weak. Too weak. I only need a single thought to kill him. Don't fight for it. This person is the sacrificial meat that I've taken a fancy to. I should be the first to have a bite. Ning Fan frowned impatiently. If he did not sense it, these statues would have all turned into demons in the long passage of time. The cultivation bases of these statues were not very high. They were just some immortal venerables and immortal kings. However, perhaps it was because they had absorbed countless Joss flames. The qi of each of these statues had a hint of an undying being. They probably thought that Ning Fan and the others were undying. That's why they spoke so arrogantly. This was exactly the phrase frog at the bottom of a well. I will only ask once. Where is the sacrificial meat hidden? Ning Fan said coldly. Ha 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 ha. The statues burst into laughter at the same time as if they had just heard a joke. After that, the statues overestimated their own strength and attacked Ning Fan. After that, Ning Fan slashed out with the 5 yin-yang swords. From then on, there were no more statues in this temple. After sensing for a while, Ning Fan slashed out with his sword again. Suddenly, an empty space was torn apart. It was the storage space created by the statues. All the sacrificial meat had been stored in this place for an unknown period of time. Perhaps because the space here had been processed by the Joss flames, the sacrificial meat did not turn into demons. There was also a short and fat old man with a white beard who was imprisoned together with the sacrificial meat. He held a walking stick and squatted silently in a corner. This old man's cultivation base was not high. It was only at the immortal venerable realm. He had been imprisoned in this place for an unknown period of time. His eyes were empty and lifeless as if he had been toyed with. Seeing Ning Fan's arrival, the old man was stunned at first. Then, he became wild with joy and tears flowed down his cheeks. I knew it. I knew that the Mountain and Sea Palace wouldn't give up on this place. May I ask if Exalted Immortal was sent by the upper world to rescue this place? Ning Fan looked at the white-bearded old man in confusion. When the old man saw that Ning Fan did not answer him, he could not help but be stunned. Could it be that he had guessed wrongly? The person in front of him just entered this place by mistake, and he wasn't sent by the Mountain and Sea Palace. However, at the next moment, the walking stick that the old man was holding sensed something. It was a bamboo stick made from the spring bamboo of the Mountain and Sea Palace. There was something special about the walking stick that was made from this bamboo. The appearance of the bamboo stick would change according to the 4 seasons of the mountain and sea palace. In spring, it would be green bamboo. In summer, it would be red bamboo. In autumn, it would be yellow bamboo. In winter, it would be white bamboo. Before Ning Fan came here, the old man's bamboo stick was black bamboo. It did not have any of the 4 seasons. The reason why it was black was because the old man's bamboo stick had been away from the mountain and sea palace for too long. It had already exhausted its life force and could no longer sense the 4 seasons of the mountain and sea palace. But now, the bamboo stick which had exhausted its life force gained a great vitality from the Dao Qi that Ning Fan unintentionally released. Gradually, it turned from black to green bamboo. This bamboo stick sensed the 4 seasons of the mountain and sea palace again. But how was this possible? It was impossible for the dead spring bamboo to come back to life. It was like an immortal's thought dissipating after death. However, something unimaginable was really happening right now. The old man stared at the bamboo stick in shock. He was speechless for a long time. Suddenly he thought of a possibility. He was so excited that tears filled his eyes. So Lord is one of the 5 divisions of the mountain and sea palace. Greetings, Lord Supervisor. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man knelt on the ground tremblingly and kowtowed to Ning Fan to express his gratitude. Ning Fan was still confused. However, he still helped the old man up politely and asked, "May I know fellow Taoist's name? Why are you here?" "Lord, I am from the land of the Ji Mountain in this world. As for why I am here, it's a long story. It's all because of those divine statues that have gained sentience." The old man seemed to have a belly full of bitterness. When he was about to tell Ning Fan about it, Ning Fan waved his hand. "Since it's a long story, let's not talk about it." He did not have the mood to listen to the bitter history of an unfamiliar old man. Eating was the most important thing right now. Yes. The old man forcefully swallowed his words. He could tell that the Lord Supervisor had come here for another important matter. Thus, he naturally did not dare to say anything else. When he saw Ning Fan ignore him and walk straight towards the sacrificial meat, the old man slapped his forehead and understood. "Lord, you really came for these sacrificial meat. You should have done this a long time ago. I've already reported the matter of venerated Ziwei overstepping my authority. However, the internal department has been indifferent to this matter. I think they are worried about venerated Ziwei's identity. Fortunately, venerated Ziwei has already passed away. There shouldn't be any obstacles in dealing with these sacrificial meat anymore." Ning Fan ignored the old man because he did not really understand what he was talking about. Seeing that the sacrificial meat was right in front of him, Ning Fan could only feel countless hungry beasts roaring in his stomach. He could no longer hold it in and stretched out his hand, wanting to take the sacrificial meat. "Lord, you can't. You can't eat these sacrificial meat. What you are taking is the meat of the devil-revered silkworm bush. If we, the cultivators of the mountain and sea division, eat a mouthful of it, our Tao will be damaged for 10,000 years. The old man panicked and tried to dissuade Ning Fan. Chapter 1257. My lord, you can't. You can't eat the sacrificial meat. The meat you are holding is the meat of the silkworm bush of the devil-revered realm. A single bite of it will damage our Tao for 10,000 years. The old man who claimed to be the earthly lord of Shiji Mountain kept trying to dissuade him. However, Ning Fan was too hungry. Facing the fragrance of the meat, his rationality was getting weaker and weaker. There seemed to be two voices arguing in the depths of his heart. His body's instincts were awakening. They kept urging him to eat the sacrificial meat as soon as possible and not listen to the nonsense of others. His remaining rationality was advising him to be careful and check the condition of the sacrificial meat first. The effect of the 10th revolution pill was too great, especially after Ning Fan had eaten a large amount of food. The hunger in his stomach had accumulated to a terrifying extent. The Taotai power in his body was getting lesser and lesser. What replaced it was the instinct of an ancient divine spirit that was slowly awakening and disturbing his thoughts. I am your instinct and your true desire. You should listen to me and eat the sacrificial meat. We ancient divine spirits dare to eat everything in the world. Why would we be afraid of the backlash from the sacrificial meat? 10,000 years of Tao damage? Humph. That depends on who I am dealing with. What can this sacrificial meat do to me? The divine spirit in his body said, I am your rationality. I am your principle, thinking and persistence in your path of cultivation. You don't want to be controlled by others since the beginning of your cultivation. You must think twice before you do anything. How can you be driven by your instinct and do something reckless? Since others said that there is something wrong with the meat, you should be careful even if you can't believe it. You should check it before eating it. The remaining rationality said, instinct. Instinct is intuition. We ancient divine spirits are born with extraordinary intuition. In addition to our innate ability to communicate with all living things, we can tell right from wrong with just a glance. Since I said that the meat is harmless, then it is true. Rationality. Even if you can really see that the meat is harmless, you should still be careful and think twice. Instinct. I am a divine spirit and also a devil cultivator. If I am overcautious in everything, I don't want to cultivate this Tao. Rationality. If I follow my instinct and listen to my intuition, I will definitely die in the hands of thousands of people. How can I cultivate the Tao? Instinct. What's wrong with following my instinct? Rationality. What is instinct? Instinct. Instinct is the original heart, the true self. When babies are born, they know how to look for food and their mother. This is their instinct, their nature. However, once they grow up and step onto the path of cultivation, the people of the world will cut off their true self and nature. They will abstain from eating, cut off family ties, cut off the 6 desires, and abandon the mortal world. They will only seek peace and quiet, untainted by the world of mortals. How can they call this matter cultivation? Isn't it laughable? Rationality. What is the true self? Could it be that the newborn baby was the true self? The true self should be the most benevolent, but the newborn baby implies the evilness of human nature. Therefore, when one cultivates the Tao, one must cut off these natures. Instinct. You said that babies represent the evilness of human nature, but I think babies are the ultimate goodness. Cultivation has the suspicion of neglecting the essentials and pursuing trifles. Reason. Thou art looking at the problem too superficial. Instinct. Thou art looking at the problem too one-sidedly. Rationality. Humph. Summer insects cannot speak of ice. Instinct. Humph. A frog in a well cannot speak of the sea. Reason. That's too much, thou shalt not appreciate it. With such words, why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Instinct. How dare a slave who eats dog feces dare to speak? Reason. Eat your father's head, eat your mother's head. Instinct. You are a slave to your mother. You are a slave to your father. You are a slave to your clan. Reason. You have a disease in your head. If you don't treat it, you will be afraid of the future. Instinct. You are a slave to your mother. You are a slave to your father. You are a slave to your clan. Reason. At yen% and instinct. Asterisk and yen #at. Ning Fan was speechless. He felt as if he had split into 2 halves. However, the two of him first discussed the Tao and then quarreled with each other. In the end, neither of them could win the argument. In the end, they rolled up their sleeves and scolded each other. Are these also the side effects of the 10th revolution pill? Ning Fan would never admit that these retarded conversations came from his instincts and rationality. Fortunately, after being tormented by his instincts and rationality, Ning Fan finally calmed down. After calming down, he naturally did not eat the meat impatiently. Instead, he listened to the advice of the Earth Elder and temporarily stopped eating the meat. The sacrificial meat was not directly placed on the sacrificial table. Instead, it was placed in a small cauldron. There were many types of cauldrons. The cauldron in front of him was a rising cauldron that was made of copper. Rising cauldron was a type of cauldron. It was a ritual vessel that was specially used to hold meat. There were a total of 9 copper rising cauldrons in this place. Other than that, there were also 8 copper cauldrons and many ritual vessels such as chopping board, beans, gueju and so on. The rising cauldron in front of him was less than 2 chi tall. It had 3 legs, 2 ears and an open mouth. Its treasure light was dim, and it no longer possessed much magic power. However, the sacrificial meat in the cauldron was still giving off steam, as if it had just been cooked. There was no trace of aging on it at all. It was very strange. Ning Fan's eyes wandered between the copper cauldron and the copper cauldron. The more he looked, the more fascinated he became. His eyes seemed to be sucked into the cauldron and the cauldron. Then he realized that the cauldron was not a cauldron. It was clearly a towering mountain. Even though its power had been exhausted, it was still unshakable. He also realized that the cauldron was not a cauldron either. It was clearly a vast ocean with an unfathomable depth. These 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons are made by the immortal sovereign realm. The cauldron contains meat while the cauldron contains grains. Seeing that Ning Fan seemed to be interested in the layout of this place, the earthly elder patiently explained. 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons, 9 mountains and 8 seas. Ning Fan took a deep breath and withdrew his spirit sense from the cauldron and the cauldron. He only felt that the arrangement of the cauldron and the cauldron coincided with some kind of layout which was infinitely profound. It was difficult for him to see through the mysteries within. He could not help but feel regretful. There was nothing he could do about it. With his insignificant cultivation base, how could he see through the means of the immortal sovereign Ziwei? Then he looked at the sacrificial meat in the cauldron again. Previously, he was driven by his instincts and only focused on extracting the meat. Thus, he did not look at it carefully. Now that he calmed down, he could see that the sacrificial meat was taken from some kind of insect. Is it the revered devil silkworm bush? Ning Fan recalled the earthly elder's words and thought to himself, could these sacrificial meat be the meat of some kind of silkworm? Out of nowhere, Ning Fan recalled the memories he had when he was immortal. When he was young, he once saw a silkworm rearing ant eating silkworms. However, that ant did not eat the silkworm meat directly. Instead, she waited for the silkworm to spin into a cocoon before killing the silkworm pupa in boiling water. After separating the cocoon, she fried the pupa and ate it. Ning Fan still remembered that he felt disgusted when he saw this for the first time. In the end, that ant laughed at him. You're such a good boy, but you're afraid of eating a silkworm. How embarrassing. Now he finally dared to eat the silkworm meat without feeling disgusted at all. Perhaps, revered devil silkworm bush's true form was an undead divine silkworm. He was a remnant of the Shu mountain clan, and the first monarch of the ancient Shu country. However, because he offended venerated Ziwei, he died and his country was destroyed. His national treasures, the ancient Shu bronze mask, the absolute beginning human statue, the ancient bronze tree and the divine sun bird, were all taken by Ziwei. The earthly elder began to explain revered devil silkworm bush's life. When he talked about how revered Ziwei killed silkworm bush with a single palm strike, and cooked him as a sacrificial meat, the earthly elder actually lamented endlessly. His expression was filled with regret. Ning Fan, on the other hand, did not feel anything. He was neither a relative nor a friend of revered Ziwei. Besides, he was used to seeing the sea of blood in the cultivation world. Thus, he did not feel that revered Ziwei was cruel and pitiful. He wasn't involved and didn't know the cause and effect of this matter. Similarly, he wouldn't comment on it. What he was interested in was the silkworm meat itself. Immortal silkworm? It really is a kind of silkworm meat. No wonder I felt that the aroma of this meat was irresistible. Presumably, the immortal energy contained in this meat resonated with the immortal bloodline in my body. I have inherited a small portion of the bloodline power of the undying great emperor. If I eat this meat, it will certainly be beneficial to me. However, if someone else eats this meat, perhaps their Tao might really be damaged for 10,000 years. After all, not everyone dares to eat the flesh of undying beings. Ning Fan thought to himself, "My lord, there's something you don't know. This is the flesh and blood of an undying being, and it doesn't belong to the cycle of reincarnation. What we celestial cultivators seek is nothing more than the Tao of reincarnation. Therefore, eating this meat will only bring harm and no benefit," the earthly elder said. "Don't worry, this meat is harmless to me." Ning Fan did not explain further. Naturally, he would not tell his secrets to a stranger. He tried to take a piece of silkworm meat out of the cauldron, but he couldn't. He felt that this meat was unimaginably heavy, and that only a saint could bear it. It was not the weight of the material plane, but the weight of the Tao. This feeling of not being able to lift the sacrificial meat was like being unable to lift the Tao mountain of the Lord Ant. This is actually the flesh of a saint. Ning Fan was extremely shocked. As far as he knew, a trace of essence qi of a saint could crush mountains and rivers. If this is really the flesh of a saint, why didn't he sense the enormous essence qi of a third-step divine beast from it? However, if this is not the flesh of a saint, why did it give him an unshakable feeling of heaviness? It's true. Revered Devil Qin Song was originally an incipient saint, but he died in the hands of venerated Ziwei. The flesh of a saint is filled with endless essence qi. Normally, it can't be eaten. However, venerated Ziwei forcefully removed the essence qi of Qin Song's flesh and blood with her own Dao technique. You can say that this meat is the flesh of a saint, but you can also say that it's not. It's because the essence qi in the meat has already dissipated. It's like a withered plant that will shatter at the first touch. However, the undying power in the sacrificial meat is something that even venerated Ziwei can't remove. At the same time, the heaviness of the great Tao of this meat is also preserved. Those who aren't saints naturally won't be able to lift this meat, let alone eat it. Halfway through his explanation, the earthly geezer suddenly exclaimed in bewilderment. Those who aren't saints naturally won't be able to lift this meat. However, aren't you the dignified lord of the mountains and seas? As one of the 5 strongest beings in the mountain and sea division under the mountain and sea lord, you are at least a saint and a nirvana saint. Why can't you lift this meat? Could it be that you aren't a saint? Of course I'm not a saint. As you can see, I'm just an immortal king. Ning Fan answered. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How can an immortal king become a lord of the mountains and seas? The earthly geezer denied. That's why I said that I'm not the lord of the mountains and seas that you mentioned. No. You don't have to hide it from me, Lord. The green bamboo staff that I'm holding has already revealed your identity. There's no doubt about that. The problem is that you're actually one of the 5 lords of the mountains and seas with your immortal king realm cultivation base. This is against the rules. Why would the mountain and sea lord bestow the power of the 4 seasons to an immortal king? Could it be that there are some secrets that no one knows about? The more the earthly geezer thought about it, the more his expression became solemn. He vaguely felt that there was a great deal of responsibility behind it, and he could not delve deeper into it. However, he still could not help but think about it. Could it be that the mountain and sea lord is playing a big game of chess on this person? Or maybe there's some other scheme behind it? Ning Fan shook his head. He vaguely felt that the earthly geezer's misunderstanding had deepened. However, he was too lazy to continue explaining. He was already used to chatting across servers. It did not matter to him anymore. First of all, I have to be able to lift this meat. Only then can I eat it. However, how am I supposed to lift this meat? Sure enough, it's better to have a chat with it. Thus, Ning Fan began to chat with the silkworm meat in the copper cauldron under the earthly geezer's gaze, as if he was looking at a lunatic. Since there was not only one piece of silkworm meat in the 9 cauldrons but several tens of them, Ning Fan needed to chat with several tens of people. No, several tens of silkworm meat, at the same time. It was quite tiring. Fortunately, Ning Fan and the silkworm meat had quite an agreeable conversation. After all, when a silkworm grows up, it would turn into a moth. As for Ning Fan, even though they were of different species, they were extremely similar. Thus, they could naturally find some topics to talk about. In the inner world of the silkworm meat, there were males and females, young and old. Thus, during the conversation, Ning Fan would sometimes address them as Brother Silkworm and sometimes, he would address them as Mississippi. While chatting with the tens of silkworm meat, they talked about the pain of the silkworm and the butterfly breaking out of their cocoons to the possibility of the butterfly and the moth falling in love with each other. Then they talked about the pain of having their country destroyed and their families destroyed to the helplessness of life. Finally, they talked about the meaning of life. Ning Fan was surprised to find out that all of the silkworm meat were distressed. The reason why they were distressed was because they could not fulfill the meaning of life despite being food. They had been stored here for countless years, but no one was willing to eat them, and no one could eat them. Even though these silkworm meat were taken from the body of revered silkworm meat, they had developed individual consciousness that was different from their host. They did not consider themselves as silkworms but as food. Deep in their hearts, they hoped to be recognized and accepted as food by others. In the end, these silkworm meat actually begged Ningfan to eat them. Is there such a good thing? Their food is asking to be eaten? Of course, Ningfan would not reject the silkworm meat's request. However, for some reason, he thought of the god-exterminating shield of the ancient country, and the request of the god-exterminating shield that day. It also hoped that Ningfan could eat it. In the end, the god-exterminating shield that was eaten by Ningfan seemed to have become a part of him, as if it had become part of his existence. To the ancient divine beings, what is the meaning of eating? Perhaps it was because Ningfan had talked about the meaning of life with the silkworm meat. He actually began to think about the meaning of divine beings at this moment. However, how could he find the answer to something like meaning? Everything could have a meaning and everything could have no meaning. Even if he searched to the ends of the world, he would not be able to find the answer. Thus, he stopped letting his thoughts run wild. With the help of the silkworm meat, Ningfan ate the silkworm meat. Strange. This Lord Supervisor is clearly not a saint, but he could actually eat the flesh of a saint. The earthly elder clicked his tongue in wonder, but he did not understand what was going on. Ningfan, who ate the silkworm meat, did not lose any of his cultivation base. Similarly, it did not increase his cultivation base either. Even though the meat was the flesh of a saint, it was no different from an ordinary human's flesh because it had lost all of its essence qi. Only the undying bloodline in his body benefited from it. It absorbed the undying power that was almost of the same origin from the silkworm meat. However, it did not absorb much of it. After all, the silkworm meat had been stored for too many years. Most of the undying power in the meat had dissipated into heaven and earth. After eating all of the silkworm meat, Ningfan bowed towards the empty 9 cauldrons. Thank you. Almost at the same time when Ningfan finished eating the silkworm meat, the 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons began to vibrate and let out a cry. Ningfan, who possessed the ability to communicate with all living beings in the world, could actually hear anger from the cry. They were angry because Ningfan was not an immortal cultivator of the Ziwei immortal realm, but he had stolen and eaten the immemorial sacrificial meat of this place. However, what could they do even if they were angry? They were just sacrificial tools that had exhausted their power. Besides, they were in an era where the Ziwei immortal realm was going to be destroyed. They could not stop Ningfan at all. In the end, there were no more silkworm meat in this place. Thus, there was no longer any meaning for the 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons to be kept here. The sacrificial tools seemed to have lost all meaning of life. Not long after the sacrificial meat was eaten, the sacrificial tools in this place wailed at the same time. In the end, all of them turned into copper dust and disappeared. After the sacrificial meat was removed, the body of the earthly old man also changed. The earthly old man revealed a satisfied expression. Then his body gradually turned transparent and disappeared. Only at this moment did Ningfan notice that the earthly old man was actually not a living person. Instead, he was someone who had been dead for countless years. I remember now. That's right. I've been dead for a long time. However, because there was something in my heart that I couldn't get rid of, my remnant soul stayed here and couldn't return to the mountains and seas. In the past, Immortal Emperor Ziwei violated the rules and used the ruler of a country as a sacrifice to heaven and earth. I was dissatisfied and reported this matter to the Mountain and Sea Division, but I didn't receive any reply. The Mountain and Sea Lord didn't plan to punish Immortal Emperor Ziwei for such a trivial matter. Everyone blamed me for making a big fuss over a minor issue. After that, Immortal Emperor Ziwei heard about this matter from somewhere, and found out that I had the audacity to sue a dignified immortal emperor. Thus he sentenced me to death. However, after I died, I didn't turn into ashes. Instead, my remnant soul stayed here to wait for the result of this matter. As the earthly old man of Shiji Mountain, my duty is none other than to protect this mountain from chaos, and ensure that the rules of etiquette don't collapse. As long as the violation of the rules of this mountain isn't removed, I won't be free even if I die. Fortunately, I've been waiting for this day. As expected, the Mountain and Sea Lord didn't forget about my grudge. Even though it has been many years, he still sent a division master here to remove the violation of the rules of this place. In this case, my mission can finally be completed. The earthly old man's face became more and more satisfied. Ning Fan, on the other hand, felt a hint of surprise. This person's remnant soul was really very strong. Even though it was just a remnant soul, it was still like a living person. Even Ning Fan could not see through the fact that this person was already dead. What kind of deep obsession does one need to have to be able to live even though he is dead? Ning Fan felt that this earthly old man was very foolish. This person was just an immortal king, but he actually dared to go and lodge a complaint against a fourth-step immortal emperor. In the end, he lost his life because of that. When Ning Fan first heard the reason for the complaint, it was even more hilarious. He actually wanted to sue immortal Emperor Ziwei for violating the rules of etiquette. However, was it really funny? Ning Fan found it hard to laugh. He was a devil cultivator. Naturally, he was not a person who abided by etiquette. The rules of heaven and earth were meaningless to him. However, to the earthly old man, perhaps the rules of Shiji Mountain were the only meaning of his existence. Perhaps, this person knew that there would be no result if he lodged a complaint against the immortal emperor. However, he still did it just to fulfill his duty. It could be said that he was stubborn, courageous, inflexible, or dutiful. However, no matter what others said, this earthly old man would probably not change his decision, nor would he regret his decision. Lord, you always say that you're not the division master of the Mountain and Sea Lord. However, I know that you are. You must be. My obsession has disappeared. This soul of mine won't be able to exist for long. I'm about to return to the Mountain and Sea Lord. Before I leave, I have something to ask you. I hope that you can tell me the truth. The earthly old man's face was filled with sincerity. It was as if the last question he wanted to ask was very, very important to him. I'm not. Ning Fan wanted to say that he was not the division master of the Mountain and Sea Lord, as he could not answer the old man's question. However, when he saw the earnest eyes of the earthly old man, he finally swallowed the words back into his throat. What do you want to ask? I want to ask how many bamboo flowers have bloomed in the bamboo forest of the Sichun Mountain this year. The earthly old man's face was filled with longing. He wished that he could fly back to the division master of the mountain and see himself before he died. He wanted to fly back to the Sichun Mountain and take a look at the bamboo forest that covered the entire mountain. He wanted to look at the bamboo flowers in his hometown that he had not returned to for many years. However, he could not do it. The only thing he could do was to ask Ning Fan a few questions to relieve the pain of homesickness. Ning Fan wanted to say that he did not know. However, when the words came to his mouth, it turned into I didn't count. If you didn't count, it means that a lot of bamboo flowers have bloomed. Therefore, even with the division master's spirit sense, you won't be able to see all of them. This is great. The bamboo flowers in my hometown are blooming very well. I really want to go home and have a look. The remnant soul of the earthly old man dissipated completely. At the moment when his soul dissipated, his smile was frozen forever. That smile was very dazzling. It pierced Ning Fan's eyes and went all the way to his heart. It made Ning Fan feel a little lost. He actually felt a little homesick. I wonder if the snow in 7 Apricot City is heavy this year. I really want to ask someone. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. During these few days, major events happened frequently in the Ziwei North Palace, causing the demons and devils in the palace to discuss about it. Have you heard about it? In the 6th palace, the True Shin Palace, the great spirit spring pond that is said to have an endless amount of water has been drunk by someone, causing the water level to plummet. Of course I have heard about it. It is said that the person who drank the spring water is an old senior named Ning Fan. The Great Spirit Spring Pond will have a flood every 10 years and countless demons and devils will drown. Now that the water level has plummeted, there won't be a flood for the next tens of thousands of years. We are really lucky. I heard that the demons and devils of the True Shin Palace are grateful for Senior Ning's kindness. They want to build an incense tower for Senior Ning. Have you heard about it? In the fifth palace, the Great Liang Palace, those evil wine devils were killed by someone. How is that killing them? I heard that those wine devils were eaten alive by someone. Those wine devils are the products of the wine devils after they transform. When they join forces, they can even fight a quasi-saint realm expert, who is so powerful to kill them. I heard that it is a senior named Ning Fan. Senior Ning is doing a good deed again. Yeah. I heard that some of the wine devils of the Great Liang Palace had attacked Senior Ning. However, Senior Ning did not hold it against them and repaid them with kindness. That's not right. That's not right. Repaying kindness with kindness? How can one repay kindness? Senior Ning is too kind to these wine devils. You are not allowed to speak ill of Senior Ning. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. I was just saying it casually. How would I dare to talk bad about Senior Ning? Have you heard about it? The immemorial seal of the fourth palace, Falling Tower Palace, has been repaired by Senior Ning. Senior Ning really does good deeds every day. The book devils of the Falling Tower Palace said that they want to repair the incense flame tower for Senior Ning. I heard that when Senior Ning repaired the seal, all the book devils flew out and tried to stop him. In the end, they were all killed by Senior Ning. What are book devils? They are book devils. Those book devils are really powerful. They can transform into Golden House, Thousand Bell Millet, and Yen Ruyu. Do you know how Senior Ning defeated those book devils? Senior Ning is really smart. When those book devils transformed into Thousand Bell Millet, he ate all the millet in the courtyard one bite at a time. Those book devils were so scared that they tried to run away, but how could they escape? Senior Ning is really a kind person. We can't be compared to him. Have you heard about it? Something big happened in the third palace, Luozi Palace. Yes, I heard about it. Senior Ning has done another good deed. That meat mountain giant has finally been eliminated. It's really satisfying. All these years, countless demons and devils have died in the mouth of the meat mountain giant. Finally, it's the meat mountain giant's turn to be eaten. It's all thanks to Senior Ning. Senior Ning is really a good person. He's as kind as Lord Duo when in the past. I heard that after Senior Ning left the Luozi Palace, he went to the Xianing Palace. Now he's in seclusion there. What? Why would Senior go into seclusion all of a sudden? Could it be that you were severely injured when you were going around to eliminate evil, and you need to recuperate? I hope Senior is safe and sound. In the second palace of the Ziwei North Palace, the Xianing Palace. The Xianing Palace was the territory of old ancestor Nu Luo. Currently, Ning Fan was in seclusion inside the palace. The place where he went into seclusion was a cave dwelling that looked like a tree hole. It was built inside a towering ancient tree. He was not in seclusion to recuperate as others had guessed. Instead, he was in seclusion to refine the enormous energy in his body. Ning Fan sat in meditation with his legs crossed like an old monk. His body gave off rays of golden light, making him look like a golden heavenly god. As time passed, the rays of golden light gradually increased. Beside him, Shenwan was carefully guarding him. Actually, Ning Fan did not need Shenwan's protection. However, Shenwan had just acknowledged him as his master, and was eager to make a contribution. Thus, he took the initiative to make such a request. Amazing! Really amazing! Master's divine power is still increasing. I can't be wrong about this feeling. Master is awakening a second type of divine technique. Under normal circumstances, divine spirits would only have a rare chance to awaken a second type of divine technique when they are advancing to the next level. Could it be that Master is advancing to the next level? Shenwan's face was filled with anticipation even though she did not have a face at all. Master is the Father God of Wood. His divine spirit level must have already reached the primogenitor level. If he continues to advance, won't he break through to the divine king level? But why did I hear that in order to advance to the divine king level, one would need the blessings of 24 primogenitor divine spirits at the same time? Or could it be that Master didn't cultivate the divine spark of an ancestor divine spirit as a primogenitor divine spirit? He actually cultivated the divine spark of an ancestor divine spirit as an innate divine spirit? Is he also advancing to the primogenitor divine spirit as an innate divine spirit? Shenhuan's imagination ran wild. She was right about one thing. Currently, Ningfan was indeed advancing to the divine spirit level. However, he was not advancing to the primogenitor divine spirit from an innate divine spirit. Instead, he was advancing from a crippled divine spirit to a postnatal divine spirit. There were 3 levels of divine spirit: crippled divine spirit, postnatal divine spirit, and innate divine spirit. After that, postnatal divine spirit was divided into 4 levels: nascent divine spirit, young divine spirit, middle divine spirit, and old divine spirit. Innate divine spirit was divided into 3 levels: innate divine spirit, primogenitor divine spirit, and divine king divine spirit. Ningfan's divine spirit level had never truly broken through to the postnatal level. In the past, he was just getting closer and closer to the postnatal divine spirit level. However, it was still not enough for him to truly break through to the next level. He could not find the reason. He thought that it was because he did not inherit the cultivation method of the divine spirit race, which was why he could not break through to the next level. However, he had never thought that the reason why he could not break through to the postnatal divine spirit level was because of himself. He was a cultivator. Naturally, he chose to abstain from eating at the beginning of his cultivation. Abstaining from eating required him to cut off his appetite. In essence, it was incompatible with the Tao of divine spirits. 2 different Taos should not coexist in the same person. Fortunately, Ningfan cultivated the yin-yang transformation, which allowed him to coexist with 2 different Taos. However, he still needed to find a suitable point to break through to the next level of his divine spirit level. Coincidentally, Ningfan ate a 10th revolution pill that could increase his appetite and digestion. He became very hungry. He had awakened his appetite that had been sealed for a long time. At the same time, the divine spirit instinct deep in his bloodline was also awakened. Originally, when Ningfan ate that 10th revolution pill, he wanted to absorb the 99 traces of Tao Tai's power within it to evolve his stomach into the Tao Tai's stomach. However, how domineering was the divine spirit instinct? It did not give Ningfan the chance to form the Tao Tai's stomach. It devoured all the Tao Tai's power in Ningfan's body bit by bit. Why do I need the Tao Tai's stomach? You are an ancient divine spirit. All you need is the divine spirit stomach. As a result, Ningfan's divine spirit ascension had begun by accident. However, he did not realize it at all. It was because Ningfan was too hungry. He was so hungry that he could not think straight. Naturally, he did not think that the reason why he became hungrier the more he ate was because he had triggered the opportunity for the divine spirit level to advance. Just like that, he did not make a sound and continued to eat crazily to replenish the energy he needed for his divine spirit level to advance. The more he ate, the hungrier he became. It was because the closer his divine spirit level was to the postnatal divine spirit level, the greater the amount of energy he needed. Fortunately, Ningfan managed to gather enough food in the end. It was also at the moment when he was full that he regained his senses and realized the huge changes in his body. The ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient devils that I cultivate are all imitations of the ancient divine spirits. The postnatal divine spirits correspond to the extreme of the ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient devils. The ancient god bloodline is the most similar to the ancient gods. Legend has it that when the ancient gods cultivate to the peak, they can cultivate 7 heart orifices. Ningfan could feel that his ancient god realm cultivation base was disappearing bit by bit. What replaced it was his divine spirit realm cultivation base that was constantly rising. This was conversion. The ancient god's magic power was transforming into god spirit's magic power. The amount did not change, but the purity of the magic power had a qualitative leap. At the same time, the number of Ningfan's heart acupoints was also slowly increasing. Dong dong. Dong dong. Dong dong. Ningfan could clearly hear his heartbeat getting louder and louder. Dong dong. Dong dong. Dong dong. Ningfan was not the only one who could hear the heartbeat. It resonated with the entire cave. Shenhuan could hear Ningfan's heartbeat that was getting stronger and stronger. Then she found it inconceivable. It must be fake. Master's heart acupoints actually didn't reach 7. Only now did he start to get closer to the 7 apertures. Logically speaking, any postnatal divine spirit that cultivates normally should have the 7 apertures divine heart. There is only one explanation for Master not having the 7 apertures divine heart. Master is actually a divine spirit with a trash body, and is advancing to the true postnatal divine spirit realm. A postnatal divine spirit realm infant that is about to possess 2 types of divine techniques. Peak. Chapter 1258. In the second palace of the Ziwei North Palace, Xianpin Palace. Inside the Xianpin Palace, plants were flourishing. Countless towering ancient trees grew in this place. There were also immemorial winged dragons flying between the ancient trees. From afar, this place was just like an immemorial forest. The taller ancient trees in this place had been hollowed out and built into cave dwellings that looked like tree holes. Countless demons and devils that were formed from plants and trees had been living in the tree holes for countless years. The place where Ning Fan went into seclusion was the tallest tree among the ancient trees. It was an old parasol tree that was 3 billion years old. Its trunk was even thicker than a heavenly pillar. Any one of its leaves was enough to cover an entire city in the mortal world. There was a gigantic human face on the tree trunk. Obviously, this tree had already cultivated into a demon. It was the face of a kind old man. His beard was white and each of his beard was hundreds of li long. Currently, it was sleeping soundly. Its snores were deafening and terrifying like thunder. As it breathed, the branches and leaves of the entire parasol tree shook and rustled continuously. This tree demon had a bone age of 3 billion years. However, its cultivation base was not high enough to reach the heavens and earth. Its chi was actually only equivalent to the life immortal realm. It was very strange. Under normal circumstances, no life immortal realm cultivators could live for such a long time. However, this parasol tree had obtained a great fortune when it was young. The demons and devils of the Xianpin Palace had passed down from generation to generation that this parasol tree was once stained with the blood of the Phoenix clan's saint. That was why it could live forever. The proof was that there were still some dark golden blood stains on the tree trunk. Even though the powerful chi and the blood stains had been eroded by time, it still carried the aura force of a saint that could not be looked at directly. To the Parasol clan, the blood of the Phoenix saint was a supreme treasure. It could help them avoid heavenly tribulations and naturally allow them to live forever. Old ancestor Nu Luo stood under the tree and looked at the sleeping parasol tree demon. Her expression darkened imperceptibly. Grandpa Tree is getting older and more sleepy now. If someone is in seclusion in his tree hole in the past, he would never leave the guest alone. But now? Is there really nothing we can do? Sigh, damn it. If it wasn't for the sake of fighting against the Devil Lord on the Devil Conferral Peak and protecting us juniors, why would Master Tree release such a large amount of life force at once to face the enemy? Fortunately, I met a Lord God of Berserkers. With his mountain and sea curse, he might be able to find enough life force to save me. Thinking of this, Matriarch Nirua's eyes were filled with anticipation. As it turned out, the reason why he took the initiative to approach Ning Fan was to save the old parasol tree in front of him. I wonder how Lord Barbarian God is doing right now. My lord has eaten so much food, you naturally need time to refine and absorb it. If it were any other quasi-sage, they would definitely not be able to refine so much food without 1,000 years of hard work. However, this lord is extremely talented. Perhaps he would only need 100 years to come out of seclusion. I hope that you will listen to my request after you come out of seclusion. Ancestor Now Lua was wrong. Even though Ning Fan had eaten a lot of food along the way, it was far from enough for him to refine and absorb them for 100 years. After just 4 days of seclusion, he had already absorbed 70% of the energy in his body. Another 2 days passed. The enormous amount of energy in his body was completely absorbed by Ning Fan. The energy did not directly turn into his cultivation base. Instead, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, entering Ning Fan's divine spirit body. During the past few days, Ning Fan's body was undergoing drastic changes every second. The number of his ancient divine heart orifices had increased to 7. At the moment when he broke through to the 7 apertures ancient god realm, the shadow of an ancient god appeared between heaven and earth of Xianpin Palace. His appearance was solemn and dignified. It shocked countless demons and devils who thought that there was an enemy attack. In the end, they found out that it was a false alarm. The number of Ning Fan's ancient demon spirit wheels had also increased to 3. The limit of the ancient demon spirit wheels was 5. That was why it was called the 5 spirit wheels. Ning Fan did not follow the orthodox cultivation method of his spirit wheels. All he did was eat a lot of food. In the end, the number of his spirit wheels increased too. It really surprised him. On second thought, ancient demons cultivated by imitating the ancient divine spirits. Even though he did not follow the ancient demon cultivation method, he ate according to the instinct of the divine spirits. It could be considered as following the cultivation method of the divine spirits. Thus, it seemed reasonable for him to improve his ancient demon abilities. When his spirit wheels achieved a breakthrough, another shadow of an ancient demon appeared between heaven and earth of Xianpin Palace. It shocked many demons and devils again. After that, another shadow of an ancient devil appeared between heaven and earth. After that, another shadow of the barbarian god battling heaven appeared. Another shadow of the Taitsong tribulation spirit appeared. There were even giant shadows of divine spirits and devil spirits that appeared one after another. They looked down upon heaven and earth with disdain. Their world-shaking aura force was enough to make saints panic. Even a quasi-saint like old ancestor Nu Luo did not even have the right to raise her head to look at the 2 shadows. She was so shocked that she could not speak for a long time. The strange phenomenon between heaven and earth kept changing. Sometimes, the devil turned into the dark night. Sometimes, the Tao turned into the Big Dipper. Sometimes, yin and yang merged into one. Sometimes, everything returned to peace. Sometimes, lightning diagrams appeared and rumbled in the sky. Sometimes, there was a rainstorm that fell to the ground. Sometimes, the shadow of a phoenix hung high in the sky. Sometimes, butterflies filled the sky. Sometimes, poisonous miasma filled the sky. Sometimes, it was as dark as night. Sometimes, the sound of war drums shook the sky. Sometimes, killing intent filled the world. Sometimes, the shadow of a sword pierced through the sky. Sometimes, the shadow of Fuli flew across the sky with a divine spirit tree branch in its mouth. Wherever it passed by, plants began to grow. Sometimes, a purple golden wind blew across the land, turning the mountain rocks into sand and dust. On the 9th day of Ning Fan's seclusion, the strange phenomena that filled the sky began to decrease. Every time a strange phenomenon disappeared, some ancient stars would appear in the sky. The colors of those stars were different. Looking from afar, they looked like the stars in the eyebrows and eyes of the ancient gods, demons and devils that illuminated the sky. There was an indescribable Dao Qi surrounding them. Some demons and devils with good eyesight saw through the origin of those stars, and were extremely shocked. These are actually Dao Qi stars. Aren't only corpse-severing cultivators able to cultivate Dao Qi stars? Could it be that Senior Ning is actually in seclusion to perform corpse-severing? No. It doesn't seem like it. If he's really performing corpse-severing, the number of Dao Qi stars that would appear would be much more. However, there are only dozens of Dao Qi stars here. No one knew why the Dao Qi stars in heaven and earth had appeared. Even Ning Fan was puzzled. He did not know what was going on. Of course, he did not perform corpse-severing. He had just completed a divine spirit meal. However, a monstrous transformation had taken place inside his body. The 3 cultivation bases of the ancient gods, ancient demons and ancient devils flowed into his divine spirit cultivation base like rivers flowing into the ocean. The Jieling cultivation base was a little stubborn. He refused to merge with the divine spirit cultivation base, and kept his unique cultivation base. At this moment, Ning Fan's spiritual world seemed to have turned into a vast starry sky. In this starry sky, many Dao Qi stars were born one after another. Strange. You didn't perform corpse-severing. Why did you cultivate dozens of Dao Qi stars out of nowhere? In his spiritual world, the Ant Lord's surprised voice resounded. Even with her experience as a quasi-saint realm expert, She still could not understand what was happening in front of her. Corpse severing? Daoqi stars? Ning Fan was a little puzzled. Just as he was about to ask about it, he suddenly felt a strong force pushing him out of his spiritual world. His spiritual world seemed to be a little unstable. Was it because he had just condensed the Daoqi stars? Ning Fan suppressed his doubts and slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were surrounded by starlight. They were so bright that no one could look at them directly. It was indescribable. It was as if his eyes contained the entire starry sky. In that starry sky, there were a total of 43 Daoqi stars. Ning Fan took out a bronze mirror from his storage pouch. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, his expression changed. I seem to have seen this kind of eyes before. I've seen this kind of eyes on the ancient statue of the undying great emperor. I've also seen this kind of eyes in the eyes of Master Luangu. Eyes like the starry sky. What exactly is going on? Before Ning Fan could think about it carefully, a warm feeling suddenly spread from his stomach. Then it spread to all his internal organs and spread to his muscles, bones, flesh and blood. Eventually, it spread to every part of his body. That kind of warm feeling suddenly became intense. It became scorching hot like fire, like boiling water, like hot oil, like lava and like the sun that fell from the west. Ning Fan's body was bathed in the scorching divine spirit light. Inside his body, the second type of divine spirit innate talent was slowly taking shape. A few days later, Ning Fan officially came out from his seclusion. On the surface, Ning Fan did not seem to have changed much during his seclusion. Judging from his qi, Ning Fan's cultivation base did not seem to have improved much. It was difficult for others to notice the changes in Ning Fan's body. Only Shenwan, who was sensitive to divine power, could sense that the essence of his master's magic power had changed. Most of his magic power had been converted into the divine power of ancient divine spirits. The cultivation bases of ancient gods, ancient demons and ancient devils had all been assimilated by the divine power. However, this kind of assimilation could only be noticed by those who were also from the divine spirit race. How could ordinary people recognize the divine power of a divine spirit? They would only think that Ning Fan was still cultivating the magic power of the ancient gods, demons and devils at the same time. They could not see through his true nature. As a servant of the divine spirit race, Shenwan could naturally see through this. When he saw that Ning Fan's divine power had increased tremendously, he knew that his master had succeeded in his seclusion, and had truly stepped into the threshold of the postnatal divine spirit realm. Congratulations on breaking through to the nascent god realm, Master, Shenwan said with a flattering tone. The 4 stages of the postnatal divine spirit realm were nascent god realm, young god realm, middle god realm and old god realm. Ning Fan had already obtained this information from Shenwan. He was quite satisfied with the fact that he could enter the nascent god realm and become a real postnatal divine spirit. Even though his cultivation base did not improve much, the increase in the strength of his physical body was quite terrifying. Compared to when he had yet to break through to the postnatal divine spirit realm, the strength of his physical body had increased by 3 times. His blood and qi had also increased by 3 times. The digestive ability of his stomach had increased by more than 10,000 times. However, his strength did not increase much. That's because you are still too young. You are still a baby. Naturally, it's not the time for you to grow your strength. When you become a young divine spirit, your strength will increase tremendously, and you will reach the peak of the postnatal divine spirit realm, Shenwan explained. I am a baby? Ning Fan was speechless. Of course, it's according to the standard of the divine spirit race. Alright. Speaking of Ning Fan's digestive ability, the improvement of his digestive ability was not only reflected in the speed of digestion, but also the types of food he ate. You have seen cultivators eating spiritual fruits and spiritual herbs, but have you seen cultivators eating refined iron and mithril? Have you seen someone eating mountains, oceans and cultivation planets? After breaking through to the nascent god realm, Ning Fan was no longer limited by the types of food he ate. Everything in the world could be used as food and he could digest them. If his body needs it, he could even eat cultivation planets easily. Master, May I ask if you have comprehended a second divine technique after breaking through to the nascent god realm? Shenwan asked hopefully. After becoming a real postnatal divine spirit, one would have the chance to obtain benefits and comprehend a second divine technique. Of course, the possibility of that happening was very low. However, Shenwan was good at observing people's expressions. When he saw his master's beaming face, he knew that he must have really gained something. However, he did not know what kind of divine technique his master had comprehended this time. The divine spirit race was known to have 9 great divine techniques. However, in reality, there were far more than 9 types of divine techniques. It was just that the 9 techniques were the most famous and had the highest grade. That was why they were called the 9 techniques. In fact, there were still many divine techniques that were not ranked. Occasionally, there would be people who comprehended divine techniques that had never been seen in history. All of them were highly possible. Take a guess. Ningfan was in a good mood and teased Shenwan. It must be so, Shenwan said with certainty. Ningfan did not express his opinion. However, since he was smiling, how could Shenwan not know that he had guessed correctly? Then, Master, did you comprehend the 3 upper divine techniques? Shenwan first asked for the names of the first 3 divine techniques. Ningfan shook his head. No. Could it be the middle 3 techniques? Shenwan then named the middle 3 techniques one by one. Ningfan still shook his head. It's the lower 3 techniques? Shenwan said the names of the lower 3 techniques again. Ningfan still shook his head. He still could not match them. This time, Shenwan was a little surprised. One should know that the first divine technique Ningfan comprehended was the communication of all living things. It did not make sense for the second divine technique to be an inferior one. The true name of the divine technique I comprehended this time is, all living things acknowledge me. Ningfan no longer kept Shenwan in suspense. He also wanted to see if Shenwan had heard of this technique before. In the end, it was Shenwan's turn to shake her head. She had never heard of such a technique appearing in the history of the divine spirits. Maybe it was because she was ill-informed, or maybe it was the first time this technique had appeared. Master, don't be discouraged. Even if some divine techniques are not ranked, it doesn't mean that they are not strong. Every divine technique has its own strong points. The key lies in how you use them. Shenwan comforted Ningfan as he was worried that he would be unhappy. Ningfan nodded. He had not tested the power of this new technique. Naturally, he would not reject it easily. Let's see what's so special about this technique. Since this technique is called, all living things acknowledge me, it must be related to master recognition. Since it dares to say all living things acknowledge me, it must be really powerful. Ningfan took out a few low-grade magical treasures from his storage pouch. All of them were seized from his enemies. These magical treasures were useless to him. Thus, he would not spend time refining them and making them acknowledge him as their master. However, it was a good time for him to use them now. Ningfan held the magical treasures in one hand and formed a hand seal with the other. Golden divine light gathered and turned into seals that were imprinted into the magical treasures by Ningfan. It was the master recognition seal that allowed all living things to acknowledge him as their master. The pattern of the seal was that of an ancient giant holding the sky with one hand and forming a hand seal with the other. Almost at the same time when the master recognition seal was planted, Ningfan could clearly feel that he had established a connection with these magical treasures. This feeling was the feeling of successfully recognizing him as their master. It's done. However, isn't this speed a little too fast? It's even faster than dripping my blood to recognize them as my master. Moreover, it saves me the consumption of blood essence. It's countless times faster than refining my magic power. Ningfan tried some other high-grade magical treasures. Without any exception, all of them successfully recognized him as their master. After consuming 21 seals, the low-grade innate dragon boat cauldron successfully recognized him as its master. After consuming 33 seals, the low-grade innate dragon burial stone successfully recognized him as its master. After consuming 46 seals, the low-grade innate devil saber successfully recognized him as its master. For magical treasures below the innate realm, A single seal was enough to recognize them as their master. However, higher-grade magical treasures would require more seals. Ningfan suddenly had a new discovery. The power of the magical treasures that were recognized by the Master Recognition Seal seemed to have a slight increase. Most of them had an increase of 5 to 10%. In other words, the power of the magical treasures can be increased by a small amount after the Master Recognition Seal recognizes them as their master. Even though the increase isn't much, it's still useful. Ningfan's expression turned serious. His eyes shone with a heavenly green light as he observed the Master Recognition Seal that was planted inside the magical treasures. His expression gradually turned serious, and in the end, there was a look of surprise on his face. Logically speaking, a Master Recognition Seal only required a few finger gestures, so the structure of the Dao technique should not be too complicated. However, the truth was that the inner workings of these Master Recognition Seals were unimaginably complex. Even with Ningfan's heavenly being law eyes, he actually could not see through the principle of this seal. It was too profound and incomprehensible. This technique is indeed not as simple as I thought. He decided to test the strength of the Master Recognition Seal. He tried to forcefully erase the Master Recognition Seals within the treasures, but he found that once these seals were placed, he couldn't forcefully erase them. The only way to get rid of this seal was to use the divine art of all things recognition in reverse. These magic seals are actually the structure of the indestructible seal. Ningfan was astonished. The so-called immortal seal was one of the most profound seals. Once a seal of this level was planted, even a nirvana sage would have a hard time erasing it. Because the level was too high, it was extremely inconvenient to use the indestructible seal. It was extremely possible to form the 1,000-finger seal, and the FA needed to form the indestructible seal was an astronomical figure. However, Ningfan's Master Recognition Seal seemed to be both fast and low energy consumption. It did not consume much of his magic power at all. Since this item is said to be the master of all things, the range of its technique is not limited to magic treasures. Let's try something else. Ningfan took out a pill and planted the Master Recognition Seal on it. As a result, he found out that the pill that was planted with the Master Recognition Seal could not be consumed by others. Similarly, the medicinal power of the pill increased slightly. Even the pill works? Let's try something else. After consuming 1,500 Master Recognition Seals, Ningfan's Sea of Consciousness successfully recognized him as the master. After consuming 2,200 Master Recognition Seals, Ningfan's physical body successfully recognized him as the master. After consuming 1,900 Master Recognition Seals, Ningfan's primordial spirit successfully recognized him as the master. Interesting. This technique can actually be used on myself. Indeed, I am also included in all things. Ningfan found it funny. Shenwan, who was standing at the side, was speechless. Who in the world would recognize themselves as their master? What's the use of it? Of course it's useful. My entire life is formed from the essence and blood of my father and mother. Therefore the owner of this body is my parents. However, in the end, the owner of all things in the world is heaven and earth, samsara and an inescapable fate. I don't belong to my parents either. Instead, I belong to the Creator. However, at this moment, I have already recognized myself as my master. From now on, I am detached from heaven and earth, and I only belong to myself. Ningfan teased. Even though he said it in a serious manner, what he said was actually not his true thoughts. However, just as his voice fell, Ningfan's expression suddenly turned solemn. He felt the changes in his body. It was originally a joke to recognize himself as his master. However, after doing so, Ningfan shockingly discovered that his magic power had actually increased by more than 5%. His magic power had increased by a total of 950 tribulations. His magic power had instantly surpassed 18,000 tribulations. What was more frightening was that Ningfan felt a sense of relief. It was a kind of transcendence. It was as if what he said in a joke was really true. At this moment, he no longer belonged to the Creator of heaven and earth. Instead, he belonged to himself. My joke seems to have come true. Not only that, But this technique also seems to be able to affect the will of the person who has been sealed. However, because I am using it on myself, my own will not be affected. If I use it on other living beings. Ningfan's expression was as solemn as still water. This divine technique seems to be quite powerful. Shenwan swallowed her saliva even though she did not open her mouth at all. Ningfan remained silent, and his eyes scanned his surroundings. He saw a small lake in the forest not far away. A silver-winged mayfly was flying above the lake. This kind of silver-winged mayfly was an extremely common species in the cultivation world. It was born in the morning and died in the evening. It was already evening now, and this mayfly was about to die. It was resting on a piece of duckweed, waiting for its death. Brother Mayfly, your lifespan is about to end. I want to ask you to help me with a small experiment. Can you do it? Ningfan approached it, squatted down and asked politely. Sure. The mayfly agreed to Ningfan's request. This mayfly seemed to be very easygoing. It was obviously about to die, but it was willing to help a stranger before it died. Shenwan was a little confused. She knew that Ningfan could communicate with all living beings. However, she did not understand why a dignified divine being like him would lower his status and make a request to a tiny living being. Do divine beings need to ask for help or request for help? If a divine being wants to do something, he can just take it by force. My master is really soft-hearted. No. My master is being merciful. Thank you. Ningfan squatted down. He formed a hand seal and planted a master recognition seal on the mayfly. With just one master recognition seal, the mayfly successfully acknowledged Ningfan as its master. What was more frightening was that Ningfan could feel the emotions of the mayfly change almost at the same time he planted the master recognition seal. He and the mayfly were strangers who met each other by chance. Naturally, there was no friendship between them. However, after planting the master recognition seal on it, he could clearly feel that the mayfly had developed a heart of loyalty to him that was willing to die for him. This seal can not only recognize a living being as its master, but also change its heart and will, forcing it to be loyal to the user. Ningfan's expression became more solemn. Changing the will of a living being is too heaven-defying. Undo. Ningfan undid the master recognition seal in the mayfly's body. In an instant, the mayfly broke away from the master-servant relationship with Ningfan. The loyalty it had towards Ningfan also vanished at the same time. Ningfan flicked his finger, and a trace of vitality force shot into the mayfly's body. The mayfly, which was on the verge of death, was instantly reborn. It flapped its wings and flew 3 rounds around Ningfan before flying away. Only Ningfan could hear the mayfly's gratitude. Ningfan just smiled and replied, "Go ahead. This is to thank you." Inwardly, he had some new ideas about the master recognition technique. After that, Ningfan decided to summon the undying ghost soldier. Due to the divine pill's assistance, Ningfan only had one ghost soldier left. However, this ghost soldier had a terrifying cultivation base that was comparable to an ancient great cultivator. The undying divine feat. The only unfortunate thing was that the undying divine feat was a little unruly. It turned a deaf ear to Ningfan's command and wanted to fight him instead. Humph! Did you summon me here because you want to compete with me? As soon as it appeared, the undying divine feat revealed its killing intent and locked onto Ningfan. Since the opponent was so unruly, Ningfan certainly would not be polite. Without saying a word, he sent out countless master recognition seals towards the undying divine feat. The undying divine feat wanted to dodge, but Ningfan activated the contract power of the ghost flower of the netherworld and fixed it on the spot. Dozens of master recognition seals entered its body. The undying divine feat did not succeed in recognizing its master. Obviously, more seals were needed in order to subdue an ancient great cultivator. Thus, Ningfan continued to plant the seals. After planting 1,100 master recognition seals, the undying divine feat was finally forcefully recognized by him. The undying divine feat no longer treated Ningfan as an enemy. It actually lowered its proud head and knelt down respectfully towards Ningfan. Its eyes were filled with loyalty. The divine feat swears allegiance to my master until death. It was actually tamed just like that. Even an ancient great cultivator could not withstand this technique. Ning Fan was amazed. However, he also knew that the undying divine feat was just a special case. This person had already become a ghost soldier, and had a contract with him. It was just that he was unruly deep in his heart. Therefore, the difficulty of making him recognize its master was far lower than that of ordinary great cultivators. If Ning Fan wants to forcefully subdue a great cultivator with the master recognition seals, he would first have to plant a seal that was a few times stronger than the undying divine feat on the other party. Since the other party was a great cultivator, how could he possibly be obedient and allow Ning Fan to plant seals on him? Planting a few thousand seals on a great cultivator was no different from hitting a great cultivator with a divine ability a few thousand times. At this stage, it was quite impossible. It's not very practical to use this technique to capture ancient great cultivators. However, there should be a more heaven-defying use. Ning Fan's interest in the new technique increased greatly. He glanced around and suddenly noticed some formation light coming from not far away. I see. This place is where the grand formation protecting the Xianpin Palace is located. If that's the case, after consuming 25 master recognition seals, the grand formation of the palace successfully recognized him as its master. Old ancestor Nu Luo, who was unaware of the situation, was naturally shocked when she sensed it. Lord Barbarian God has already come out from his seclusion. What did he do? How could he take away the grand formation of this place from my hands so easily? It was just a grand formation. Old ancestor Nu Luo naturally would not care about the gains and losses. What she cared about was Ning Fan's method. After consuming 1,400 master recognition seals, the Xianpin Palace successfully recognized him as its master. Old ancestor Nu Luo, who had just recovered from the shock, was astonished again. Impossible. I've been in charge of the Xianpin Palace for countless years, but I still couldn't make this palace truly listen to my orders. I can only barely control it. However, just now this palace actually has a master, and the master is actually Lord Barbarian God. After consuming 19,000 master recognition seals, the 12 North Pole palaces of Ziwei successfully recognized him as their master. Something happened. Something happened. The master of the North Pole Palace has returned. The purple dome appeared in the sky. It was actually the reappearance of the legendary purple dome phenomenon. In the past, this phenomenon would only appear when venerated Ziwei returned. Could it be that the master is still alive, and he has returned to this place from the end of samsara? This is impossible. How is this possible? At this moment, all the demons and devils in the 12 palaces of the North Pole Palace were in a state of panic. At this moment, the sky of the 12 palaces was filled with purple clouds. The purple dome appeared in the sky. Countless chanting sounds reverberated between heaven and earth. Countless shadows of ancient immortals walked out from heaven and earth like mirages and illusions. All of them bowed towards Ning Fan's direction and bowed. It was as if they were kowtowing to an ancient immortal sovereign. Even the foreign races in the northern heaven sensed the abnormality of the North Pole Palace. Countless old monsters were alarmed by this matter, and wanted to find out what was going on. Impossible. The North Pole Palace has already lost its master. How is it possible for it to regain its master? Could it be? Could it be? Ning Fan did not know how much of a commotion he had caused. In fact, he was also a little surprised. This place was the former abode of a fourth-step immortal sovereign. Even if that immortal sovereign had passed away, it was impossible for this palace to be taken away by others. In the past, Ning Fan still had to rely on the communication between all living things to take away the fire continent from this place. This time, however, he casually took away the entire North Pole Palace and became the master of this place. This ability that allows all living things to recognize their master can even take away the belongings of an immortal sovereign. Isn't this a little too? Isn't it too heaven-defying? Ordinary people would probably check their gains after taking away the abode of an immortal sovereign by accident. However, Ning Fan did not do that. At this moment, he was more concerned about the divine technique that he had just comprehended. Even though this technique could even take away the abode of a fourth-step immortal sovereign, Ning Fan still felt that this was not the limit of this technique. Suddenly, he had a sudden inspiration and a bold idea popped up in his mind. Then he sent out several owner recognition seals towards the void in the sky. In the end, after consuming 33,000 owner recognition seals, the time law of this world successfully recognized him as its master. I can even control the flow of time in this world at will. Ning Fan asked in surprise. Isn't it just controlling time? Many saints can do it too. What's there to be surprised about? Time means nothing to us saints. The voice of the Ant Lord sounded in his sea of consciousness. In fact, her tone was very sour. Damn it! This brat has gained another heaven-defying technique. This ability to recognize all living things as their master is really against the rules. Could it be that everything that exists in this world can be recognized as their master? Could it be that everything that exists in this world can be recognized as their master? Ancient divine beings and whatnot are really domineering, barbaric and rude. It's really enviable. Stop. What are you doing? What are you trying to do to me? Take back your owner recognition seals. The Ant Lord was feeling sour when she was suddenly startled. This time, it seemed like Ning Fan was planning to use her as a test subject to test the power of the owner recognition seals. Even though she was the remnant soul of a saint, even the abode of an immortal sovereign was no match for this technique. How could she have the confidence to resist it? When she thought about how her will might be changed and she would obey Ning Fan's orders obediently after getting hit by this technique, the Ant Lord was really frightened. Luckily, Ning Fan was just joking. He did not really do anything to her. I'm just joking. Ning Fan said with a smile. Who are you trying to fool? The Ant Lord did not believe him at all. This brat did not even spare her, and even dared to use her as his master. Who knows what other tricks he could play with the owner recognition seals. He was actually playing with a pitiful and lonely ant like her. 1. All. No. Strange. The Ant Lord originally wanted to quarrel with Ning Fan for a while more, but she suddenly sensed something. Her expression changed, and she became furious. I'm just joking. Why are you so angry? Ning Fan was surprised. I'm not trying to anger you. It's Jifuyao. Something has happened to the body that I've just found. The Ant Lord said with a cold expression. Quickly go outside. Go and serve the female clan. Go and save her. Quick. Chapter 1259. Rewind the time to a few days ago. On that day, Ning Fan came to the Black Sea Palace and went into seclusion. A few days later, Jifuyao, who was following closely behind Ning Fan, had completed the task of collecting the fragments of versatile news along the way. He had also arrived at Xianpin Palace. However, he missed the opportunity to hand over the fragment to Ning Fan, because he was a step late. Left with no choice, he could only seek an audience with the master of the palace, old ancestor Nu Luo. Greetings, Senior Nu Luo. I have something to ask you. I wonder if Senior can tell me? Nu Luo chuckled. Just ask whatever it is. You know Lord Ning, so you don't have to be too formal when you talk to me. Senior Nu Luo, may I ask how long Senior Ning will be in seclusion for? Nu Luo replied, never. Then, how long do you think Senior Ning will be in seclusion for? Nu Luo answered, Lord is in seclusion to refine and absorb the food he ate along the way. Judging from the amount he ate, ordinary people would have to enter seclusion for at least 1,000 years. However, with his capabilities, he might come out in less than 100 years. Jifuyao exclaimed, Huh? What should I do? Do I have to wait for 100 years before I can see Senior Ning again? Nu Luo asked. From what you said, you have an urgent matter to discuss with Lord? Jifuyao answered. It's not really urgent. Nu Luo chuckled. You don't have to hide this from me. I am a quasi-saint realm expert after all, and I have the ancient mirror of Mount Wu. I have already found out about you and Lord. You have the intention to help Lord collect the fragments of versatile knowledge. Now that you have collected quite a lot of them, you naturally want to offer them to Senior as soon as possible. This is the first reason why you came to the North Pole Palace this time, to look for the soul-transforming leaf, Saint Extermination Grass and Tao Sealing Spirit Spring, right? Lord has promised to help you find them, but he still hasn't gotten the Tao Sealing Spirit Spring of the Star Discipline Palace. However, you are in a hurry to use it. Naturally, you hope that Lord can come out of seclusion as soon as possible. This is the second reason. Ji Fuyao sighed. Sigh. Senior is really amazing. I can't hide anything from you. Nu Luo giggled. Hee, you don't have to be so anxious. When the Lord first entered seclusion, he entrusted me to go to the Star Discipline Palace and retrieve the Tao Sealing Spirit Spring for you. Since we've already obtained this item, you can just take it. As for the fragment that you want to give to Master, just give it to me. When Master comes out of seclusion, I will pass it to him. Ji Fuyao. Huh? Senior Ning is obviously in a hurry to enter seclusion, but before you enter seclusion, you are still thinking about what you promised me. Just like that, Ji Fuyao gratefully obtained the third item she was looking for. Many days had passed since she entered the North Star Palace. Back then, she had sent a message to all the races. At this moment, there must have been a large number of alchemists who had accepted the invitation and were waiting for her to return and refine perfected Lord Beihai to death. When he thought up to here, it wasn't appropriate for Ji Fuyao to continue staying here, and it was time to leave. There was only one thing that made her feel regretful. She still wanted to see Ning Fan again and thank him for his kindness. However, she did not have the chance to do so now. Nu Luo said. Senior had instructed us before he entered. He knew that you were in a hurry to return to the Feng Nu tribe, so he asked me to tell you that you don't have to wait for him to come out of seclusion. It's more important to deal with your business. I understand. If that's the case, I will leave now. Ji Fuyao stood outside the old parasol tree where Ning Fan was in seclusion. Suddenly, she knelt down and kowtowed 9 times in the direction of the cave door. Then, she stared at the cave door for a long time before performing a technique to leave the North Star Palace. Since she could not thank him in person, she did not say another word before she left. However, this kindness had been deeply engraved in her heart. She did not dare to forget it. She could only wait to repay him with her life and death in the future. Outside the North Star Palace of the Feng Nu tribe in the North Boundary River, purple light suddenly flashed in the sea. Then the light condensed and a person walked out of it. It was Ji Fuyao. The members of the Feng Nu tribe who were waiting here were overjoyed when they saw their clan leader had returned safely. However, when they took a closer look, they realized that Ji Fuyao had actually lost his physical body, and only his demon soul was left. All of them were shocked and furious. How hateful! The demons of the North Star Palace actually dared to do such a vicious thing to the king. The members of the Feng Nu tribe were filled with righteous indignation. One should know that Ji Fuyao had a very high prestige in the clan. He was highly respected by the members of the clan. Naturally, they could not remain calm in the face of this matter. She just lost her physical body. She can just cultivate it again in the future. Don't make a big deal out of it. Ji Fuyao's tone was cold. When facing Ning Fan, Ji Fuyao's behavior was like that of an ordinary woman. It was because that was her original appearance. However, when facing her clan members, she had to maintain the dignity of the clan leader. She had to suppress her true nature and give up on simple happiness. Otherwise, she would not be able to protect her clan members. Otherwise, she would not be able to protect the home that her father and mother left for her. May I ask your majesty if your wish was fulfilled during this trip? One of the clan elders asked nervously. Yes. I've obtained all 3 types of medicinal herbs. Your majesty, you've worked hard. Worked hard? What do I have to work hard for? All 3 types of medicinal herbs were obtained by a kind-hearted senior for me. If it wasn't for him, not to mention obtaining the medicinal herbs, I would have lost my life in the North Star Palace. Ah, a kind-hearted senior actually helped your majesty. Our clan will definitely remember such a great favor. The members of the clan said. Yes, we should remember this favor. By the way, how many pill refinement masters came after I was away? Ji Fuyao asked. No less than 200 of them. All of them are 8th Revolution Pill Refinement Masters and above. There are even 12 9th Revolution Pill Refinement Masters. There are quite a number of them. Ji Fuyao asked for more details and felt a little tired. During these days in the North Star Palace, she had been fleeing for her life, getting severely injured and searching for fragments of polylore everywhere. She rarely had any rest. Now that she felt relieved, the exhaustion immediately overwhelmed her. Naturally, she could not hide her tiredness from the officials. Thus they advised her, "Since your Majesty has returned, why don't you take a rest? We will inform the pill refinement masters who came after the invitation. 7 days later, we will open the cauldron to concoct pills and kill that old bastard." 7 days is too long. Inform everyone that we will open the cauldron tomorrow. That old bastard is definitely not an ordinary person. The longer we keep him alive, the more dangerous it will be. Ji Fuyao ordered. Tomorrow? Your Majesty also needs to participate in the process of refining and killing that old bastard. It's better for you to rest for a few more days and build up your strength. It's all right. I'm not tired. Someone bring me an artificial skeleton. It will temporarily serve as my physical body. I cannot appear in a pathetic state as a demon soul during the furnace opening ceremony tomorrow. Understood. The words furnace opening ceremony resonated in the hearts of every Feng New clansman. Refining and killing true monarch North Sea tomorrow was not just an execution. It was also a celebration that belonged solely to the Feng New clan. The night was as cold as the sea. Ji Fuyao, who had already donned the artificial skeleton, stood in front of the window and gazed at the night view of the clan grounds. Memories flowed quietly in her mind. She missed her father and mother. He missed it so much that his heart ached. However, his king father and queen mother would never be able to return. The only thing that made her feel relieved was that perfected monarch Beihai, who was guilty of numerous crimes, could be executed tomorrow. She could finally comfort her parents in heaven. Hiss. The pain in her body interrupted Ji Fuyao's recollection. She was currently wearing the artificial skeleton that was unique to North Border River. The so-called artificial skeleton was a temporary substitute for the physical body. For a short period of time, the person who wore it would be no different from possessing a physical body. However, it could not truly replace the physical body. That was because the artificial skeleton was not a real physical body. Forcefully fusing the demon soul with the artificial skeleton would cause the two to be incompatible. Every time she circulated her magic power, she would feel intense pain. This artificial skeleton is indeed not a long-term solution. When this matter is over, I'll build a new physical body. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, a series of cracking sounds came from outside the window. Ji Fuyao's beautiful eyes narrowed as she looked in the direction of the cracking sounds. She saw a middle-aged man tearing apart space and walking out. It was a white-haired man surrounded by the light of 9-colored providence. However, the moment he arrived, he quietly retracted the light of providence. His face was filled with the vicissitudes of life, but it was cold and emotionless. His white hair seemed to have a life of its own as it fluttered in the wind. His eyes seemed to contain the entire starry sky, so bright that one could not look at them directly. The moment he stood there, the entire Feng Nu clan seemed to have changed owners. Even the heavenly Tao had to listen to him. His arrival caused quite a commotion, but if he was unwilling, no one apart from Ji Fuyao would be able to detect his arrival. You again. 3-stage celestial sovereigns Lai Yuko. Ji Fuyao's expression turned ugly when she saw the newcomer. A trace of disgust was hidden in her beautiful eyes. She clearly recognized the newcomer. The newcomer was definitely not ordinary. He was an ancient great cultivator, who belonged to the foreign races of the northern border river. He had a position above tens of thousands of people, and was the leader of the 3-stage celestial sovereigns elected by the various races of the border river. He had the authority to supervise the various races. Ji Fuyao did not feel the slightest bit of respect for such a person. It was this person. Back then, it was this person who had clearly received news of true Lord North Sea attacking the Feng Nu clan, but had not asked about it. What bullshit leader of the 3-stage celestial sovereigns? He was just a person who did not do anything. There was no need to respect him. The white-haired great cultivator called Lai Yuko did not seem to be angered by a junior calling him by his name. His gaze was still calm, so calm that no emotion could be seen. It was as if he was indifferent to the common people. Humans would not be angered by the disrespect of ants, because they could not hear the disrespect of ants. This was the feeling that Lai Yuko was giving off at this moment. This attitude again. This person doesn't care about the affairs of the world at all. Why would such a person be chosen to supervise the myriad races? Ji Fuyao felt powerless and cold. At this moment, Lai Yuko suddenly spoke. Immediately in the furnace opening ceremony. This is the order of the myriad races. What? Ji Fuyao's beautiful eyes widened in anger. She did not understand why the aloof Lai Yuko would say such words. Not only that, you have to release that true Lord North Sea as well. You are not allowed to refine him to death, Lai Yuko added. Why? Senior is also an immortal cultivator of the Z-Wei immortal realm. Since you know that I have a blood feud with that North Sea old thief, how can you say such words? Ji Fuyao said indignantly. You are not qualified to know the reason behind it. But if you want to follow in the footsteps of your father and mother, you might as well disobey this order. Lai Yuko said indifferently. He was only here to announce the order, not to answer people's questions. Since the order had been conveyed, his figure flashed and floated away, leaving behind Ji Fuyao, who looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She knew that Lai Yuko's orders were absolute, because Lai Yuko represented the myriad races of the border river. If she did not comply with the order to release true Lord North Sea, it would be equivalent to becoming enemies with the myriad races of the boundary river. But why? True Lord North Sea was clearly a cultivator of the northern heaven, an enemy of the myriad races of the boundary river. Why did the myriad races of the Z-Wei immortal realm have to protect an outsider and an enemy? She could not understand the reason behind it. She only felt that it was unfair. She had sacrificed everything just to avenge her parents. As an ally of the myriad races, they did not help at all when she was avenging her parents, but wanted to obstruct her when she was about to achieve her wish. They were simply immoral. The next day dawn. The furnace opening ceremony of the Fengnu tribe was held as scheduled. In the end, Ji Fuyao did not obey the orders of the myriad races. This was her choice and the choice of the entire Fengnu tribe. Even if this choice went against the will of the myriad races of the boundary river, they would not hesitate. My king, this is bad. Those pill refiners who were invited suddenly left one after another. They are not willing to help us kill that old bastard North Sea. We can't continue with the ceremony this time. A soldier reported. Damn it. Is this also the will of the myriad races? Ji Fuyao gritted her teeth. She knew that things were not so simple. Since the myriad races did not allow her to kill true Lord North Sea, the pill refiners invited from the myriad races would naturally not help her. This way, things were back to square one. The Fengnu tribe alone did not have the ability to kill true Lord North Sea. But why was all this happening? At first, when Ji Fuyao received the orders from the myriad races, she indeed felt that it was unfair and angry. However, she calmed down and pondered for an entire night. Finally, she found some suspicious points. It was not that the myriad races did not allow her to kill true Lord North Sea from the start. If they did not allow it from the start, those pill refiners would not have accepted the invitation in the first place. But the truth was that these pill refiners suddenly left at this moment. That Lai Yuko also only suddenly came to announce the orders of the myriad races on the night before the ceremony. Did something happen at the last minute that made the myriad races decide not to kill North Sea? Judging from Lai Yuko's attitude, there is a secret that I do not have the right to know. Ji Fuyao's heart was heavy. Another soldier came forward with a joyful expression. Good news, good news. It turns out that not all the pill refiners have left. Many have decided to stay after some consideration. The ceremony can be held as scheduled again. That's great. Ji Fuyao was naturally very happy to hear that, but more than that, she found it strange. The orders of the myriad races were absolute. Since they did not allow the ceremony to be held, it was reasonable to say that all the pill refiners should have left. However, the reality was that there were still some who chose to stay. Although they could obtain the promised reward from the Feng Nu tribe, they would offend the myriad races if they stayed. It did not seem very wise. Your Majesty, the ceremony has already begun. Would you like to attend the ceremony immediately? Of course I will. Ji Fuyao rode a luxurious fish carriage to the venue of the ceremony. The venue was packed with people. Countless foreign race cultivators had gathered here and were discussing. Ha ha ha, this is so satisfying. I didn't expect the Feng Nu tribe to have the ability to capture a Northern Heaven quasi-saint. If we can refine and kill this North Sea old bastard, we will definitely raise the prestige of our myriad races. This public execution is definitely a slap to the face of the Northern Heaven cultivators. Refine and kill. I'm really looking forward to refining a prisoner into a pill. I can't wait to see true monarch North Sea's miserable expression. Those who were discussing this were mostly low-level cultivators. They did not know that the myriad races had changed their minds and forbade the killing of true monarch North Sea. I didn't expect true monarch North Sea to be here. The reason why he was captured by the Feng Nu tribe is probably because of the spatial turbulence from the battle that day. The battle that day? What do you mean? Fellow Taoist, don't you know? Not long ago, a shocking battle took place in the Northern Heaven Lost World Palace. Many quasi-saints went to the Lost World Palace to create trouble, and the leader was this true monarch North Sea. The North Sea true monarch had so many people that he did not even put the Lost World Palace in his eyes. Unexpectedly, an ancient great cultivator named Zhao Jian appeared out of nowhere and killed all the demi-saints and ancient emperors in the North Sea true monarch single-handedly. After that, a spatial turbulence swept that great cultivator Zhao Jian away. Fellow Taoist, do you mean that true monarch North Sea escaped from Zhao Jian's hands by using the spatial turbulence? That's right. Unfortunately, he managed to escape once, but he can't escape forever. After that, he fell into the hands of the Feng Nu tribe. I'm afraid he's going to suffer again. I just don't know what the myriad races think about this matter. Why is it that when things come to a head, they suddenly... Most of the people who were discussing like this were well-informed people. Not only did they hear about the battle between Ning Fan and true monarch North Sea, they even received some news about the temporary order of the myriad races. There were also some old monsters who had attained the immortal emperor realm, who were secretly discussing about this matter. Humph! This Fuyao tribe really doesn't care about the big picture. The myriad races have already given the order. How dare she disobey it, and insist on executing true monarch North Sea? Big picture? It's not like you, and I don't know about it. With Lord Lai Yuko's personality, it's certainly impossible for him to tell this kind of secret to Fuyao tribe. After all, sometimes it's not a good thing to know too much. Even though that lord is cold and hard, he never likes to involve the innocent. I'm afraid that Fuyao tribe doesn't know how important this true monarch North Sea is to the myriad races. That's true. This matter is of great importance. That Fuyao tribe probably doesn't know the inside story. However, if she insists on executing true monarch North Sea, shouldn't we step forward to stop her? The order has already been passed to her. If she doesn't obey, someone will naturally make her pay the price. It has nothing to do with our myriad races. As for what happens after that, we don't need to care about it. After all, everything is Fuyao tribe's own choice. She has to suffer the consequences herself. Listening to what fellow Taoist said, could it be that those devils on the Devil Conferral Summit are really going to? That's right. The Devil Lord of the Devil Conferral Summit won't just sit and watch North Sea die. He will certainly send someone to save him. After today, the Feng Nu tribe might cease to exist. What a pity. My Dao companion has just died. I originally wanted to choose Fuyao tribe as my new Dao companion, but it seems like I won't have the chance anymore. Ji Fuyao didn't know what those old monsters were talking about her behind her back. Her gaze was completely fixed on the Heaven Abyss Great Cauldron at the center of the venue. The cauldron was about 100 feet tall. It was condensed from the punishment power of the Heaven Abyss prison, and existed specifically for execution. At this moment, true monarch North Sea's primordial spirit was locked inside the cauldron. He was meditating and recuperating from his injuries. The aqua-blue Tao of rain surrounded his body, exuding a threatening immortal qi. His expression was as usual. There wasn't the slightest bit of nervousness from someone about to be executed. His fingers calculated from time to time, but he was calculating the time of Ji Fuyao's death. Below the cauldron stood 50 to 60 pill refinement masters. There were originally 200 of them, but because everyone had left, only these were left. On the surface, these pill refinement masters looked no different from ordinary foreign race cultivators. However, if there was a Fiend Dao Grandmaster present, he would definitely be able to tell that a fiend seed had been planted in these pill refinement masters' sea of consciousness. They were already under the control of a Fiend Dao Grandmaster. No wonder these people didn't leave. They didn't have a choice. Your Majesty, the auspicious hour has arrived. Should we open the cauldron now? An armored soldier asked respectfully. There's no rush. I have a secret order. Carry it with you and execute it swiftly. I'll open the furnace once you complete it. As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Fuyao sent a voice transmission to the armored soldier and gave the order. Upon hearing the contents of the order, the armored soldier's expression changed drastically. There was no other reason. This order was for him to quickly gather the younger members of the clan, escape from this place, and never return. It turned out that Ji Fuyao had already sensed all sorts of abnormalities and had a premonition that the Feng Nu clan would face a great calamity today. When the nest was overturned, no eggs would remain intact. That was also why Ji Fuyao had given the order for the younger generation of the clan to escape at the last minute. If there really was a mishap, the Feng Nu clan would still have descendants. Your Majesty, why did you give such an order? Could it be that a great calamity is about to befall our clan? The armored soldier was so frightened that his face turned pale. Mo1, carry out the order quickly. Ji Fuyao sighed. Time passed bit by bit. Ji Fuyao calculated the time and thought that the younger generation of the clan should have already left this place. Thus, he gave the order to open the cauldron. Within the ice-cold heaven abyss cauldron, raging flames were suddenly ignited. This fire was not ordinary. At first, it was only the power of the Samadhi true fire, but it quickly rose to the 6th, 9th, and 12th levels. The 12th level true fire was the pinnacle of acquired true fire. Even an immortal emperor would find it hard to remain calm after being burned by such a true fire. However, true Lord Beihai did not seem to feel uncomfortable at all within the sea of fire. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. He was a second-stage quasi-saint, the holder of the title of Rain Master. His cultivation was the natural bane of fire. Did he want to burn him to death? Acquired true fire wasn't enough. Even innate true fire had to reach a certain level before it could harm him. Haha, little kid, your cauldron fire isn't strong enough. True Lord Beihai's disdainful laughter traveled outside the cauldron and reverberated between heaven and earth. It exploded in the ears of every cultivator present like a clap of thunder, as if the sky was collapsing. This was the pressure of a second-stage quasi-saint. Under that pressure, countless foreign race cultivators were so intimidated that they could not stand steadily. Even an immortal king like Ji Fuyao felt dizzy and overwhelmed with shock. Was this the power of a second-stage quasi-saint? Even if he was heavily injured and on the verge of death, even if he was locked in a cauldron, even if he was separated by thousands of mountains and rivers, he only needed a thought and a wisp of his pressure to subdue all living beings. Don't be smug. Since you think the cauldron fire isn't strong enough, I'll make it burn even stronger. Ji Fuyao forcefully suppressed the shock in her heart, gritted her teeth, and walked toward the heaven abyss cauldron. When she arrived before the cauldron, she suddenly raised her hand and took out a treasure. The moment it appeared, the entire venue was instantly drowned in boundless purple light. That treasure was the token of immortal Emperor Ziwei, a supreme treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Feng Nu tribe. So this is the token of the immortal emperor. So it's true that the Feng Nu tribe has this item. Secretly, countless old monsters were shocked, and then revealed greed. There were also some old monsters who knew about this long ago, but they weren't too surprised. They just stared at the treasure with burning eyes. This was the supreme treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Feng Nu tribe, and the previous emperors of the Fengnu tribe would never show it to others. This time, perhaps because she had a premonition that a great disaster was about to befall her, Ji Fuyao didn't continue to hide this item, and instead displayed it in public. Firstly, it was to refine and kill true Lord Beihai. Secondly, it was to warn the myriad races that although the Fengnu tribe had declined, they were still the gatekeepers appointed by immortal Emperor Ziwei, and they wouldn't allow outsiders to bully them. True Lord Beihai's expression finally changed when he saw the token of the immortal emperor, and his expression turned solemn. True as expected. As Ji Fuyao took out the immortal emperor's token, the power of the cauldron fire that was originally equivalent to the power of the Hotian realm suddenly skyrocketed. It rose all the way to the power of the Khanate inferior grade. True Lord Beihai might not be afraid of such a powerful cauldron fire. After all, true Lord Beihai cultivated in the water element, so even if the Khanate fire were to go against him, its power would be greatly reduced, and it wouldn't hurt much. However, if true Lord Beihai were to stay in the innate cauldron fire for a long period of time, he would still suffer a little given his injuries. Good. Good. Very good. You actually dare to use the token of the immortal emperor to suppress me. Very good. True Lord Beihai's tone finally turned sinister. As the cauldron fire grew stronger, he finally let out a few muffled groans. Obviously, he was slightly hurt by the fire. However, it was still wishful thinking to kill a second-level titled quasi-saint with just this cauldron fire. But what if I add these 3 items? Ji Fuyao took a deep breath and took out the 3 items again. They were none other than the Saint Vanquishing Grass, the Soul-Dissolving Leaf, and the Tao-Sealing Spirit Spring that Ning Fan had found for him. When the Saint Vanquishing Grass was thrown into the cauldron fire, true Lord Beihai's quasi-saint chi kept declining. His cultivation base was actually being suppressed by this item. When the soul-dissolving leaf was thrown into the cauldron fire, true Lord Beihai felt great pain in the depths of his primordial spirit, as if he was going to be refined alive. When the Tao-Sealing Spirit Spring was thrown into the cauldron fire, true Lord Beihai felt that his Tao sense was being suppressed. The rain intent that was originally at 100% of its power was reduced to less than 1%. In that case, how could he withstand the blazing cauldron fire? He immediately let out a series of miserable cries. Those were the cries of a second-level titled quasi-saint. Everyone at the scene felt their scalps go numb when they heard it. Immortal emperors were already the peak of the Dharma-ending era. Compared to immortal emperors, quasi-saints were much more profound and unfathomable. Ordinary people might not even see a quasi-saint in their entire lives, let alone hear such miserable cries from a quasi-saint. This Fengnu clan is really crazy. They actually dared to publicly execute a second-level titled quasi-saint, and wanted to refine him into a pill. Only at this moment did some of them feel that this matter was real. Only then did they understand how deviant and crazy the actions of the Fengnu clan were. Based on this situation, if there is no external intervention, this Fengnu clan really has the ability to refine and kill true Lord Beihai. The expressions of those old monsters who were hiding in the dark changed. Witnessing the execution of a second-level titled quasi-saint with their own eyes, and this person was an enemy indeed, made their blood boil. Unfortunately, there will definitely be external intervention in this matter. This true Lord Beihai is too important. This person must not die here. Masters, old Lord Beihai is no longer able to withstand the cauldron fire. Everyone can start refining this puppet. Once everything was ready, Ji Fuyao bowed to the surrounding elixir refinement masters, and said politely, "Rest assured, Your Majesty. With us here, we will definitely refine this true Lord Beihai into a pill and offer it to you." The elixir refinement masters swore. One by one, the elixir refinement masters released the power of their medicine souls, and used them to control the cauldron fire to refine true Lord Beihai. At first glance, these people really seemed to be refining and killing true Lord Beihai. However, only true Lord Beihai, who was in the cauldron fire, knew that at this moment, not only was he not being refined, but someone was healing him instead. This feeling of medicine soul healing, could it be? True Lord Beihai seemed to have sensed something, and was instantly delighted. How could he not know that his good friend from the 3 mountains 5 peaks had come to save him? However, this good friend of his had a really wicked sense of humor. He actually did not show himself directly to save him from the execution ground. This good friend was actually making use of this execution to heal his injuries, heal the injuries of his essence spirit, and reconstruct his physical body. This way of doing things could not be wrong. It was definitely the elixir cultivation old demon from the Demon Conferral Summit who was saving him. Haha, I told you that my friend from the Demon Conferral Summit is very close to me. He won't leave me be. Since he knew that his safety was not a problem, True Lord Beihai became calm again and quietly healed his injuries in the cauldron fire. Outside, the elixir refinement masters were still acting like they were trying their best to refine True Lord Beihai. They continuously threw rare medicinal herbs into the cauldron fire, all of which were obtained from the Feng Nu tribe's treasury. Endless medicinal power spread in the cauldron fire. The medicine souls of dozens of elixir refinement masters were guided by a wisp of dark purple medicine soul hidden in the cauldron fire, guiding the medicinal power to nourish True Lord Beihai's severely injured essence spirit. After a day, the injuries of his essence spirit were mostly healed. After 3 days, the injuries of his essence spirit were completely healed. After 5 days, his physical body started to regenerate. After 7 days, his physical body was completely reconstructed. Other than the pill-nurturing old devil who was manipulating everything behind the scenes, no one knew that True Lord Beihai was not killed. Instead, his injuries had completely healed and his chi had also recovered to its peak. Reconstructing his physical body in just 7 days made True Lord Beihai click his tongue in admiration. Fellow Taoist nurturing pills' ancient devil soul nurturing technique has improved a lot again. Such a healing technique is almost on par with fellow Taoist Chongsang's 3 mulberry ancient tree. Sigh. I inadvertently thought of fellow Taoist Chongsang again. True Lord Beihai immediately felt a piercing pain in his heart. It's killing me. Many of his good friends had died in Ning Fan's hands. He really wished he could cut Ning Fan into 1,000 pieces and offer him as a sacrifice to his friends. No, I can't be too hasty. That bastard's methods are powerful. Previously, I called all my friends over but they still failed to kill him. This time, I must plan carefully and make more preparations. Only then will I have the confidence to eliminate this bastard. Hehe. Fellow Taoist is showing your killing intent. Is there someone you want to kill? Suddenly, a voice came from the cauldron fire. No one else but True Lord Beihai could hear it. It was the voice of the pill-nurturing old devil who was secretly healing him. That's right. There's a bastard who is extremely hateful. He killed all of my friends. I really wish I could grind his bones and scatter his ashes. Unfortunately, this bastard's methods are too powerful. I'm not his match alone. I'm afraid the day of my revenge is still far away. True Lord Beihai gritted his teeth and said, if I can't do it alone, why don't I gather everyone's strength? In the future, when fellow Taoist wants to take revenge, just call me along. I really want to see what kind of superhuman abilities this bastard has. How dare he go against my elder brother? The pill-nurturing old devil said heroically, because of this matter, I have already implicated many of my friends. How can I let you get involved in this matter? Why are you being so polite to me? You and I are friends who have gone through life and death together. Your matter is also my matter. It's fine if I don't know about this matter. Since I know about it, I certainly can't just sit back and do nothing. How can I repay your kindness? True Lord Beihai said with gratitude. Ha ha ha. If you really want to repay me, a pot of wine is enough. The pill-nurturing old devil was still full of heroism. Speaking of which, you've already recovered from your injuries. Do you plan to continue resting in this cauldron and let me nurse your body? Or do you want to come out of seclusion and teach this Feng Nu clan a lesson? The pill-nurturing old devil asked. After nursing for a long time, my chi and blood are not flowing smoothly. It's time for me to come out and exercise. True Lord Beihai was smiling, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. How dare an ant from the Feng Nu clan use him to refine a cauldron? If he endured such humiliation, he wouldn't be true Lord Beihai. I wonder how true Lord Beihai is doing in the cauldron. It's been so many days. I don't think I've heard him scream anymore. Could it be that he's been refined to the point where he's half dead and can't scream anymore? Aha! If that's the case, it'll be very interesting. Some of the spectators were discussing true Lord Beihai in the Heaven Abyss cauldron. Suddenly, they heard a series of explosions and their expressions changed drastically. Boom, boom, boom. The Heaven Abyss cauldron was rumbling. It was as if someone was attacking the cauldron from the inside, trying to shatter it. There were no explosions, but a huge shock wave came from the cauldron, sending countless alchemists and spectators flying. It can't be. That true Lord Beihai is still alive. He still has the strength to attack the Heaven Abyss cauldron from the inside. What a powerful shock wave. That person still has such strength. Could it be that he's really coming out of the cauldron? That's impossible. The Heaven Abyss cauldron is formed from the punishment power of the Heaven Abyss prison. Coupled with the Immortal Emperor's token, even a quasi-sage would find it hard to escape. But that true Lord Beihai isn't an ordinary quasi-sage. He's a second stage titled quasi-sage. He's one of the few existences in the world. Oh no. The cauldron is cracking. Retreat, retreat quickly. That thing is really coming out. Oh no. Boom, with a deafening sound, the Heaven Abyss cauldron finally shattered. A sage-like old man surrounded by the radiance of rain walked out from within. As soon as he appeared, he immediately stirred up a storm of blood. True Lord Beihai's rain intent dispersed. Countless spectators who had mocked him were washed into a pool of blood by the rain intent. Even their demonic souls couldn't escape. Ji Fuyao's face was pale as she watched everything. True Lord Beihai's injuries had healed, and even his physical body had been reconstructed. How could she not know that true Lord Beihai hadn't been refined in the slightest over the past few days? Instead, his injuries had been healed. Now, the ferocious tiger was out of the cage. Why? We're all cultivators of the myriad races and descendants of Ziwei. Why are you helping an enemy? Moreover, this enemy is someone who has committed countless crimes. Ji Fuyao thought that it was the myriad races who had saved true sovereign North Sea. Even if the myriad races didn't take action personally, they must have tacitly agreed to it. At this moment, Ji Fuyao felt deeply disappointed in the myriad races of the Boundary River. Is this how the Ziwei immortal cultivators do things? If that's the case, she would no longer be the Ziwei immortal cultivators. From today onwards, she would abandon the Ziwei name. I, North Sea, am here to annihilate the entire race. Those who stand in my way shall be destroyed in both body and soul, never to be reincarnated. True Lord Beihai walked amidst the storm of blood and smiled benevolently. However, his words were extremely cold-blooded. His murderous intent locked onto everyone from the Fengnu tribe in an instant. It was obvious that he didn't intend to let anyone off. Oh, quite a number of people from the Fengnu clan seemed to have run away. Did they escape in advance? You're quite sharp, kid. You knew that something would go wrong today. Did you want to leave a legacy for your clan? True Lord Beihai's eyes narrowed as he looked at Ji Fuyao. It was just a gaze, but Ji Fuyao felt as if all the rain in the world had drowned her eyes. She only felt a sharp pain in her eyes before they turned into blood and were destroyed. Don't worry. None of the people I want to kill can escape. I'll find those who left this place one by one and kill them all. As for you, hee, didn't you want to refine me to death? It's impolite not to reciprocate. Then, I won't give you a quick death. I'll refine you into a pill as well. Ha 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 ha. This feeling of revenge is really delightful. Delightful. True Lord Beihai raised his sleeve and swept up the endless rainwater, turning it into a gigantic cauldron. He wanted to suck Ji Fuyao into it and refine her to death. This feeling of revenge is really good. Today, I'll vent my anger on this Fengnu clan. He had no other choice. He had suffered too much in Ningfan's hands, and he didn't have the confidence to take revenge on Ningfan for the time being. He had been suppressing his anger in his heart for a long time. Now he could use this matter to vent his anger. He wanted to vent his anger. He wanted to make this insignificant junior, Fuyao, beg for death. He wanted to. Just as true Lord Beihai was about to attack Fuyao, the situation suddenly changed. The rainwater that he swept up was no longer under his control. It no longer obeyed his orders and could not move Ji Fuyao at all. Even the gigantic cauldron that he condensed from the rainwater collapsed in a single breath. He raised his head abruptly and his eyes widened. At this moment, the rainwater between heaven and earth no longer obeyed his orders. They only obeyed one person. At this moment, a person arrived on 9 dragons. His body was shrouded in golden light like the sun. It was as if a deity had appeared in the world. It was Ningfan who listened to the Lord Ant's request and left the North Pole Palace to return to the outside world. He had already made the North Pole Palace acknowledge him as its master. Naturally, he could come and go as he wished. It was as easy as entering and exiting the profound Yin world. Everyone was shocked by Ningfan's sudden appearance. A moment ago, this place was still enveloped by true Lord Beihai's rain aura force. Everyone felt that true Lord Beihai's divine might was unparalleled and invincible. At the next moment, an even more ruthless person arrived. The rain aura force was even stronger. Even true Lord Beihai felt like he was standing in front of him. Who is this? Why did he come here? He's Zhao Jian, the ancient great cultivator who killed all the saints in the battle of the Lost World Palace. Hiss! Countless people sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone was shocked by Ningfan's ferocious reputation. One should know that the myriad of races in the border river were at war with the cultivators of the Northern Heaven. Now that a great cultivator of the Northern Heaven had come to this place, a great calamity would surely befall them today. Perhaps none of the foreign races here would survive. Quick! Inform the 3-star lords. It's urgent. It's really urgent. Countless cultivators of the foreign races panicked. Even true Lord Beihai was a little flustered. He hated Ningfan from the bottom of his heart. He wished he could cut Ningfan into 1,000 pieces. However, none of his friends could kill Ningfan. That incident had left a deep shadow in his heart. A trace of fear towards Ningfan grew from the bottom of his heart. Even though he had Old Devil Dan nurturing pills helped to fully heal his injuries, he still did not have the courage to fight Ningfan. Even if he had a good friend like Old Devil Dan nurturing pill nearby who could help him, he still did not have the confidence to defeat Ningfan. Not enough. Not enough. I need more fellow Taoists. I need more people to charge at him at the same time. Only then can I subdue him. Humph. I didn't expect you to chase after me all the way here, and you still won't give up. You're really haunting me. Unfortunately, I still have important matters to attend to today. I don't have time to waste on you. If you continue to chase after me, this is my last warning to you. True Lord Beihai said the most cowardly words with the fiercest tone. How could he not be cowardly? Didn't he just want to say that he planned to run away and hope that Ningfan would let him go and stop chasing after him? True Lord Beihai shook his body and turned into a ray of light rain. He immediately ran away as soon as Ningfan arrived. He did not dare to stay any longer in this place. Seeing that, the cultivators of the foreign races looked at him with disdain. Didn't you just say that you want to annihilate the Feng Nu clan? You even said that I will stop your body and soul from being destroyed, and you will never be able to reincarnate. Why did you run away without completing your task? You're really a disgrace to the quasi-saint realm old monsters. Did I allow you to leave? Ningfan's tone was cold and merciless. With a point of his finger, the 9 rain dragons below him appeared. In just an instant, they sealed off the entire Feng Nu clan. No one could enter or leave. True Lord Beihai naturally could not escape as well. He was both shocked and enraged. He was angry because Ningfan was so persistent. He had just recuperated from his injuries and had yet to come up with the next round of revenge plan. But this bastard had already chased after him. He was really cruel and merciless. He did not give anyone a chance to live. He was shocked because the last time he saw Ningfan, he did not have 9 rain dragons. Now, however, he had them. They were 9 rain dragons. It was a number that he could not achieve even when he was at his peak. Why? Why can Ningfan have them? Hateful. Hateful. This bastard must have snatched his rain dragons and devoured and refined them. That was how he managed to achieve such a number. Bastard, you killed my fellow Taoist, snatched my heaven-battling jade umbrella, and devoured my rain dragons. I will never forgive you. Ah. True Lord Beihai was so angry that he almost lost his mind. Ningfan, however, did not even look at him. After blocking all of True Lord Beihai's escape routes, he did not immediately pay attention to him. Instead, he descended to Ji Fuyao's side. As soon as he saw her eyes being destroyed, Ningfan's eyes turned gloomy. He was displeased. It's my fault. I shouldn't have let you go first. I should have asked you to wait for me to come out of my seclusion, so that we can kill this bastard together. No. This is the business of my Feng Nu clan. It has nothing to do with Senior, and I won't be tainted by karma. Ji Fuyao's eyes were destroyed. Even though she could not see Ningfan's arrival, she could feel his qi and hear his voice. At this moment, all the grievances and unfairness that she had been suppressing in her heart were vented out. She could not hold it in no matter how hard she tried. Ningfan's appearance was like a straw in her despair. It gave her hope. However, there seemed to be a huge secret behind today's incident which was related to that True Lord Beihai. She was unwilling to let Ningfan get involved in this matter. So Senior, you better leave now. You mustn't get involved in today's incident. If I'm not wrong, not only the 3-star sovereigns of my clan are involved, but also the Devil Conferral Summit. I've already noticed that some pill refinement masters have devil seeds hidden in their bodies. Be quiet. I'll heal your injuries first. How can you lose your eyes? Without your eyes, you won't be able to see your revenge with your own eyes. Ningfan's tone was calm. He was too lazy to listen to Ji Fuyao's secret. He did not care about the 3-star sovereigns or the Devil Conferral Summit. He was only interested in killing True Lord Beihai. In this matter, Ji Fuyao and the Feng Nu clan were on the same side. If someone wants to stop True Lord Beihai from being killed, not to mention the Feng Nu clan, he too would not like it. He raised his hand and summoned the 3 mulberry ancient tree. Under the treatment of the 3 mulberry ancient tree, Ji Fuyao's eyes immediately showed signs of being reconstructed. Ji Fuyao chuckled. Senior, even though my eyes have been destroyed, this isn't my physical body. It's just an artificial skeleton. If my demon soul leaves my body, I can still see what's happening in the outside world. Senior, I think you shouldn't waste your magic power to heal a mere artificial skeleton. While speaking, Ji Fuyao's palm-sized demon soul flew out of the artificial skeleton and sat on Ningfan's shoulder. However, when he thought of the seriousness of today's matter, Ji Fuyao's expression turned gloomy again. He advised, Senior, you better leave now. I know you're not a member of the myriad of races. You're a cultivator of the northern heaven which is incompatible with the myriad of races. Even if you don't interfere in this matter, the 3-star sovereigns will never let you go just because you showed up here. You're a great cultivator from the ancient times and those few people are also great cultivators. How can you resist the joint attack of several cultivators at the same level as you alone? You shouldn't interfere in today's matter, alright? I really don't want to drag you into this. You're very long-winded. Ningfan was a little annoyed by Ji Fuyao's words. With a flick of his finger, Ji Fuyao's demon soul fell from his shoulder. Then he no longer paid attention to Ji Fuyao and kept the 3 mulberry ancient tree. On the other side, as soon as True Lord Beihai saw Ningfan summoning the 3 mulberry ancient tree, his eyes turned bloodshot. The scenes of him interacting with Taoist Chongsang in the past replayed in his mind. Everyone has a reverse scale that cannot be stepped on. Everyone has memories that cannot be erased. At this moment, True Lord Beihai no longer had the slightest fear towards Ningfan. He could feel his blood that had cooled down for many years turning boiling hot and filling his entire chest. Ningfan, you shouldn't have killed my fellow Taoist. You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have. I can tolerate you hunting me down in every way you can. However, this hatred is the only thing I can't tolerate. My Tao might be as insignificant as grass in your eyes. However, even if I'm just a grass, my anger can also set a prairie ablaze. You can kill my body and destroy my Tao. However, the hatred in my heart won't be erased even if you overturn the heavens and the world. Rather than living with the sin of killing my fellow Taoist, I'd rather live beautifully until the last moment and fight you to the death. The more true Lord Beihai spoke, the more his true feelings were revealed. His words actually carried a kind of solemn and stirring feeling, as if he was at the end of his road. All the foreign cultivators who heard his words were inexplicably touched. Some old monsters who knew the importance of the North Sea walked out from the dark. When they saw that true Lord Beihai wanted to fight against Zhao Jian, a great cultivator from the ancient era, who was infamous for his ferocity with his mere second-tier nascent soul realm cultivation base, all of them were incomparably moved. Their blood that had been cold for many years also more or less felt the warmth that they had not felt for a long time. Strong North Sea, cultivators of our generation should go against heaven, and do things that go against heaven. Even if the enemy is as strong as heaven's might, we can't simply admit defeat or lower our heads. Even if Ho has 2 arms, he dares to cut the wheels of a carriage. We also have 2 arms. How can we not dare to fight against heaven? Fight, fight, fight. Countless foreign cultivators who were afraid of Ning Fan's ferocious reputation had their blood ignited at this moment. So what if he's an ancient great cultivator? This place is the territory of the myriad races in the border river. Since you dare to come here, you must pay the price. As for true Lord Beihai, it's even more impossible for you to kill him because he's the hope of all the descendants of Ziwei. Haha. What fellow Taoist said is exactly what I want. Today, I will fight together with fellow Taoist. Let me experience the great techniques of Zhao Jian, an ancient great cultivator. The pill-nourishing old devil who was hiding in the dark was touched by true Lord Beihai's words. He walked out from the dark. Just as he was planning to fight alongside true Lord Beihai, he did not expect that just as he walked out of the dark, he felt a huge black shadow above his head. Rumble. A loud sound was heard. The pill-nourishing old devil who did not manage to show his face was already pressed under a towering Dao mountain. He was frightened out of his wits. Sage Dao Mountain. This is impossible. This is impossible. You are not a sage. How is it possible? He subdued the pill-nourishing old devil, who was at the first-level quasi-sage realm, with just a single move. He waved his hand again. The 9 dragons rampaged between heaven and earth, attacking true Lord Beihai from all directions. Pucci true Lord Beihai barely managed to block the attacks. However, he only managed to block 5 of the rain dragons. He was still hit by the remaining 4 dragons. He felt an indescribable pain in his internal organs. He had already suffered serious injuries. So strong. He is even stronger than last time. I thought Ji Fuyao was already long-winded enough. I didn't expect you to be even more long-winded. However, what you said is rather touching. I didn't expect you to have such a deep relationship with your fellow Taoist. In that case, you are indeed a righteous person. I have underestimated you in the past. Today, I will give you a quick death and end this karma. I will send you to your death. The pitiful true Lord Beihai had just recovered from his injuries, but he encountered Ning Fan in the blink of an eye. He did not last long in the hands of the 9 dragons, and was severely injured. After all, even though his injuries had fully recovered, his abilities were not as powerful as before. The rain dragons that he relied on were all devoured by Ning Fan. Without the rain dragons, true Lord Beihai was like a tiger that had its teeth pulled out. The power of his rain technique was greatly reduced. Unfortunately, the rain technique that he had almost used up was heavily restrained by Ning Fan. As a result, the physical body of true Lord Beihai, who was praised as the North Sea by everyone, was destroyed by Ning Fan once again. His primordial spirit was captured. After capturing true Lord Beihai, Ning Fan did not choose to escape from the Feng Nu clan, even though he had already sensed that there were many strong qi rushing towards this place. He was afraid that they would not come with good intentions. But so what? No matter who comes today, no one can stop his determination to refine and kill true Lord Beihai. True Lord Beihai said, why do you want to refine and kill me again? Didn't you say that you will give me a quick death? You lied. You lied. Ning Fan said, don't worry. It won't hurt. I never lie unless I have a reason to. As for you, I don't want to lie to you. If others refine and kill you, You will certainly suffer unspeakable pain. However, if I do it myself, you will only feel a moment of pain. I guarantee that it will be more comfortable than euthanasia. True Lord Beihai said. No. Don't kill me. My life is tied to a great responsibility. If you kill me, the myriad clans in the world river will not forgive you. Even the devil conferral summit. Even the secret races. Ugh. Ning Fan used his ability to block True Lord Beihai's mouth. Then he took out the divine refining cauldron. He wanted to send True Lord Beihai off with this cauldron. Ji Fuyao, I have something to ask you. You just said that you want to refine True Lord Beihai into a pill. Do you have any rules on what kind of pill I should refine? Ning Fan asked. Why, all are fine. Ji Fuyao was still in a daze. He could not regain his senses for a long time. In just a short while, the first-level Quasi-Sage Realm pill nourishing Old Devil was captured by Ning Fan, while the second-level titled Quasi-Sage Realm True Lord Beihai was subdued and thrown into the pill cauldron again. The situation changed a little too quickly. She could not even react in time. Senior is a little too strong. Oh, alright then. My cauldron is a little special. If I'm not careful, I might refine the materials into 10,000 spirits, into something special. If you don't specify what it should be, I will refine it as I wish. Oh no. I was distracted while talking to you. I didn't control the flame well, and refined True Lord Beihai into a paste. Paste? All the foreign cultivators who heard his words were so frightened that they broke out in a cold sweat. Just imagining how True Lord Beihai would be refined into a paste made them shiver. Is this so-called ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian, really a kind and benevolent person for 10 generations like what the cultivators of the Northern Heaven said? Why does he look so scary? Some of you might want to ask, why don't you foreign cultivators run away when such a terrifying ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian, is here? Why do you still want to stay here and watch the show? Aren't you afraid of death? If someone really asks such a question, these foreign cultivators would certainly cry in grievance. Do you think we don't want to run? Didn't you see that the 9 rain dragons have sealed off the entire Feng Nu clan's heavenly Dao terrain? We also want to run away, but our strength doesn't allow us to. Chapter 1260. The fact that True Sovereign North Sea was refined into a paste was probably not something that Ning Fan did intentionally. At this moment he was indeed multitasking. No, to be precise, he was multitasking 3 times. No one knew that while he was refining the myriad spirit blood and conversing with Ji Fuyao, he was also secretly doing something else. His left hand was controlling the temperature of the flames in the cauldron while his right hand was hidden in his sleeve, secretly forming golden hand seals. As he changed his hand seals, rays of golden finger imprints quietly took shape. Then they were concealed by Ning Fan's divine light, and sent into the divine refining cauldron without a sound. They were also sent into the water and sky of the Feng Nu clan. That divine seal was the master recognition seal. Then, without a sound or a trace, the smelting divine cauldron recognized him as its master. The refining speed had increased slightly. After that, the Feng Nu tribe had successfully recognized him as its master. The Feng Nu tribe's protective array, Heavenly Abyss Divination Array, had successfully recognized him as its master. Ning Fan seemed to have become the true master of the Feng Nu clan. He became incomparably close to this place. The feeling of being intimately connected with heaven and earth was indescribable with words. It was as if Ning Fan's existence had directly integrated into the mountains and seas of this place. At this moment, the protective grand formation of the Feng Nu clan was not under anyone's control. Instead, it operated on its own. It gathered the spiritual chi of heaven and earth on its own and channeled it into the divine refining cauldron, as if it was helping Ning Fan concoct pills. At this moment, countless faint purple rays of light flew out from the plants, mountains, and seas. They looked like fireflies in starlight as they flowed in midair, converging into large patches of faint purple light rain. Gradually, even the bodies of the Feng women had flickering purple light flying out. Those purple lights flew into Ning Fan's body one after another, as if they were summoned. After that, Ning Fan's magic power seemed to have been strengthened by a secret technique and suddenly improved. 18,500 tribulations. 19,000 tribulation. 19,500 tribulation. 20,000 tribulation. At this moment, Ning Fan's body was surrounded by purple fluorescent light. His magic power had increased to the level of 20,000 tribulation level, which was comparable to the power of a second-level quasi-saint. However, this improvement was not permanent. It was more like a blessing for the territory's lord. Once Ning Fan leaves the territory of the Feng Nu clan, or removes the acknowledgement of the clan as its master, this blessing would disappear. Countless alien race cultivators were shocked beyond words. This is... Could it be that the purple light surrounding Zhao Jian is the purple micro-doe light that has been passed down from generation to generation in the female race? Impossible. The Feng Nu tribe's purple micro-doe number had long been lost. How could he ever see the light of day again? Furthermore, this old devil Zhao Jian is a cultivator of the northern heaven. He isn't even a member of the Feng Nu clan. How could he obtain the support of the Feng Nu clan? What exactly happened? No one knew what had happened to Ning Fan. Even Ji Fuyao, who was standing beside Ning Fan, could not understand what was going on. What's going on? As the leader of the Feng Nu clan, I actually lost control of the clan land and the clan formation. This feeling, could it be that Senior Ning took away the clan's formation? How did he do it? It's unbelievable. The purple light that flew into Senior's body is indeed like the purple myrtle divination force that our clan has inherited. It's very similar to what Father said, very similar. Father once said that our clan's progenitor was bestowed with the blessing of Venerable Ziwei, and the entire clan is protected by the power of Ziwei Do. In the past, whenever a great enemy came to invade, the previous clan leaders would use the power of the clan. Unfortunately, the method of using the power of Doshu has long been lost. Even my father doesn't know how to use it. But why would Senior Ning? Ning Fan looked at the purple starlight that surrounded his body and felt a little puzzled. He had just acknowledged the clan land and formation of the Feng Nu clan as its master. Why did countless starlight enter his body out of nowhere? And why did his cultivation base improve temporarily? He did not know. Ning Fan did not intend to find out the reason for the time being. What he was most interested in now was the matter of refining true sovereign North Sea. His hands that were hidden in his sleeves continued to form the master recognition seal. More and more objects were forcefully recognized by Ning Fan as their master. The terrain within 10,000 li had successfully recognized him as its master. The heavenly fate within 10,000 li had successfully recognized him as its master. At this moment, Ning Fan's affinity with heaven and earth deepened further. The great momentum of 10,000 li turned into golden mist and floated into the cauldron. The heavenly fate within 10,000 li turned into 9-colored rays of light and floated into the cauldron. The foreign cultivators at this place were shocked once again. The heavenly fate actually took the initiative to help old devil Zhao Jian concoct a pill. How is this possible? He isn't the master of heaven and earth. How could he do this? This person must have used some tricks. Using 10,000 li to lock the shape of the pill, and using 10,000 li of heavenly fate to change the pill's fate. It seems like this true sovereign North Sea is going to be refined into a pill. There is no possibility of failure, unless someone stops him from the side. Why aren't the 3-star lords here yet? Someone come and stop old devil Zhao Jian. The Tao law of time within 10,000 li successfully recognized him as its master. The Tao law of space within 10,000 li successfully recognized him as its master. When Ning Fan pointed at the divine refining cauldron, the flow of time inside the cauldron suddenly accelerated by 10,000 times. The flow of time outside the cauldron was still as normal as before. Even the supreme cultivators who studied this Tao might not be able to achieve such an exquisite control of time. However, Ning Fan did it with ease. Thus, the true sovereign North Sea that was already in a pace began to be refined at a speed that was 10,000 times faster than before, turning into a blood-red pill. It was the 10,000 spirit blood. Boundless baleful chi spread out from the cauldron. It was the baleful chi of a fallen second-level titled quasi-saint. Once it spreads out, it was enough to contaminate all the spirit veins of the Fengnu clan. However, such a terrifying baleful qi was sealed back into the cauldron by Ning Fan with a single point of his finger. In the past, it was impossible for Ning Fan to seal such a large amount of baleful qi without dispersing. However, now that he had become the master of the space within 10,000 li, the space within this place would listen to his orders. If he is unwilling, the mere baleful qi would not be able to flow out from the space within the cauldron at all. Even though Ning Fan had sealed the baleful qi without dispersing, those with sharp senses could still sense what was happening inside the cauldron. It's fake. It's fake. What kind of demonic technique did this man use? He actually killed a second-level titled quasi-saint in such a short time. None of them would have thought that Ning Fan had a way to recognize the master of the time within 10,000 li. What was more surprising was that true sovereign North Sea, who had an exceedingly high cultivation base, did not last long in Ning Fan's hands, and was refined into a cauldron of pills. However, in the northern border river, a dragon boat was quickly sailing towards the Fengnu tribe in the endless distance of the border river. Inside the dragon boat, an elderly man who was dressed in the ancient Chu country's attire was sitting on his knees in front of a writing table. He was reading an old bamboo slip. The old man's eyes gave off a muddle-headed feeling, as if he had no interest in anything in the world. The only thing that could pique his interest was the ancient poems on the bamboo slips. Picking and rolling ears, not filling the basket. Sigh, I'm pregnant with a person. Sigh, I'm pregnant with a person. Sigh. Adhering to the southern mountain, picking its willows with words. I have yet to see a gentleman, and my heart is filled with sorrow. Sigh. Perhaps these verses had evoked the old man's melancholy. The old man sighed repeatedly and put down the bamboo slip, no longer looking at it. He got up and walked out of the cabin. Standing at the bow, he looked at the currents on both sides, and seemed to be thinking of the past. The melancholy in his heart lessened a little, but it turned into a poetic mood. He felt that he would not be happy if he did not get it out. The old man sometimes thought hard, and sometimes he opened his mouth to speak. He repeated this over and over again, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't come up with even half a poem. After an unknown period of time, the old man suddenly had a flash of inspiration. There is a realm river in the north, and there is a god in the river. People say that this god is the River Earl. Let's use this as the title. With the title of the poem, the old man gazed at the surging realm river. His thoughts were unprecedentedly clear as he recited the poem. Swimming in the Shi-9 rivers with a woman, rushing against the wind and stirring up waves. Riding on a water wheel, riding on a lotus lid, riding on 2 dragons. Ascending the Kunlun mountains, gazing around, my heart soaring and vast. When the sun is about to set, I forget to return. Only the Pushi River fills my heart. Fish scale houses, Shi Dragon Hall, Purple Shell Tower, Shi Pearl Palace. What is the spirit in Shi Water? Riding on a white turtle chasing after fish. I travel with a woman to the Zhu River's Zhu. The waves coming down. Fighting with a man in the east, sending off a beauty to the South Pu. Waves come to welcome me, fish scales come to give me. After reciting the poem, the old man heaved a long sigh of relief, as if he had completed an extremely important task. Just as he was about to turn his head and reconsider the wording of this new poem, his gaze suddenly changed, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. His expression turned slightly dark. How could he still be in the mood to compose a poem? With a pinch of his fingers, he had already calculated the drastic change in the Fengnu clan. What exactly is the background of that Zhao Jian? It hasn't even been 5 minutes, and he has already killed the North Sea. If there were any foreign race cultivators here, they would definitely be able to recognize this old man as old ancestor Chu Ping, who was ranked 3rd among the 3-star lords. In a certain cave residence of the Water Clan in the North Boundary River, inside the cave residence, a young girl who was as fat as a ball was eating like a tornado. The food that was piled up like a mountain in front of her was decreasing at an astonishing speed. The expression on the young girl's face was very stiff. That stiffness made it seem as if she did not have any emotions. Only when she was eating would her eyes reveal some emotions, allowing others to roughly judge whether she was already full or still hungry. Beside the young girl, a cuttlefish that was as large as a small mountain was saying something angrily. If Ning Fan was here, he would certainly recognize that this cuttlefish was Blood God Gung Wu. Who would have thought that Blood God Gung Wu, who had escaped with his life that day, would actually run all the way from the eastern heaven to the northern heaven? Who knew how he managed to escape to this place? Awesome! 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 Gung Wu said angrily. He did not know how to speak. The word Nyo used to be the only human language he knew. Now it was the only language he knew. I know. You were bullied by that Nyo Manshan again, weren't you? You've already said it 800 times. The chubby young girl seemed to understand Gung Wu's language, and replied disapprovingly. Ning, Ning, Ning. Seeing that the young girl was unmoved by his tragic experience, Gung Wu angrily said another word that he knew. I know. The one who bullied you this time is also someone called Ning Fan, right? You've said it more than me. You've already said it 900 times. Don't worry. If there's a chance to go to the Eastern Heaven in the future, I will definitely help you get revenge. After all, we're good friends who grew up eating together. Alright. Don't be angry. Come and eat more. You can only grow up by eating more. In the past, you weren't much younger than me. I'm talking about your body size. Look at you now. You've become so skinny. Any fish clan with a medium body size in the Boundary River is taller and stronger than you. And this is the result of me feeding you recently. You just eat too little. If you eat like me, would you still be afraid of that Nyo or Ning? While they were talking, a few fish demons suddenly rushed over and reported. Senior Great Kuren, something bad has happened. Something big has happened to the Feng Nu clan. Someone wants to refine and kill the Northern Heaven Rain Master. Don't be noisy. I'm busy teaching Gung Wu to eat more. But Lord, this matter is very important. No matter how important it is, it's not as important as eating. Do you know that in our Fire Fish clan, there's a maxim? Food is goodness. Eating one's fill is justice. Hunger is evil. Hunger is the original sin. This lowly one doesn't understand Lord's great principles. This lowly one only knows that the Northern Heaven Rain Master is very important. If you don't understand, then go to the side. You're disturbing my meal. The chubby girl was a little impatient. With a casual fling of her little hand, the few fish demons who came to report the news were thrown thousands of miles away. Then she said to Gung Wu, "All right, no one is disturbing us anymore. Let's continue eating." That's right. Gung Wu, let me ask you something. When I was talking just now, did I mention the Fire Fish clan? What's the Fire Fish clan? Why did I mention the Fire Fish clan? It's so strange. Forget it. In one's life, there will always be many strange things to do and many strange things to say. There's no need to look into them one by one. For example, when people are not full, they will kill each other. When they are full, they will quarrel again and again. Hey little Gung Wu, do you think that my words are very philosophical? That's because I'm a little full now. Full. Up. Yes. The chubby girl finally had her fill, and a sweet smile appeared on her face. However, for some unknown reason, as soon as some feelings were born in her heart, they were wiped out by an invisible force. Then, she returned to her emotionless appearance. Her face was filled with confusion, as if she had forgotten many things. Hey little Gung Wu, I think I'm hungry again. The chubby girl was none other than the great Kuan of the Northern Sea, who was ranked second among the 3-star lords. In a very short time, Ning Fan refined true Lord Northern Sea into a cauldron of 10,000 spirit blood. Sensing that true Lord Northern Sea had died, the Pill Cultivation Realm Old Devil, who was being suppressed under the Tao Mountain of the Ant Lord, was overcome with sorrow. He let out a miserable cry. It's so painful. The Pill Cultivation Realm Old Devil burst into tears. Then, all of his sorrow and anger turned into a devil roar and vented out. Roar.it was the roar of a quasi-saint realm ancient devil. The power of a single roar was like a landslide. In an instant, the entire Feng Nu clan fell into an earthquake. The devil roar locked onto Ning Fan, and all the members of the Feng Nu clan. Obviously, he wanted to kill them with his devil roar. However, Ning Fan did not allow the devil roar to spread out. He did not want it to hurt any of the members of the Feng Nu clan. However, Ning Fan lifted his finger and pointed at the pill cultivation realm Old Devil's devil roar. It was forcefully restrained and only echoed under the Dao Mountain of the Ant Lord. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing that he was so weak that he could not even let out a devil roar, the pill cultivation realm Old Devil felt humiliated for the first time in his life. He clenched his teeth so hard that they almost broke. However, he could not get out of the Dao Mountain of the Ant Lord, and could not do anything to Ning Fan. Unlike the pill cultivation realm Old Devil who was grieving, the members of the Feng Nu clan felt extremely satisfied when they saw true Lord Northern Sea being killed. Each of them knelt on the ground and thanked Ning Fan profusely. Thank you, Senior, for helping us take revenge. Even Ji Fuyao knelt down and kowtowed to Ning Fan. His face was filled with tears. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and a rain intent lifted everyone up from the ground. He said, I didn't kill this man for your sake. It's for my own karma. Thus you don't have to thank me. As for the item in the cauldron, I don't plan to give it to you. Ning Fan said to Ji Fuyao. The 10,000 spirit blood was related to an ancient divine spirit. Ning Fan would never give it to others. The pill in the cauldron naturally belongs to Senior. What I want is only the result of killing that old Lord Northern Sea. I would never dare to covet Senior's item. That's good. It's just that the pill in the cauldron is a little special. It's not convenient to give it to others. Besides, this item is indeed harmful to you. It's useless to you and might even attract trouble. However, I did borrow your clan's formation to concoct the pill. I should at least give you something to thank you. No. It's obviously us who should give you something to thank you. Ji Fuyao was shocked when she saw that Ning Fan actually wanted to give her something to thank him. Ning Fan had already made up his mind. Just as he was about to take something to give to the Feng Nu clan, he suddenly sensed something and his expression turned solemn. We'll talk about this later. Don't disturb me for now. Ji Fuyao's heart skipped a beat when she heard what Ning Fan said. How could she not know that something major had happened? Otherwise, why would Senior Ning show such an expression? Could it be that the 3-star lords have already arrived? Could it be that there is more than one of them? Could it be? For a moment, Ji Fuyao's mind was in a mess. As the leader of a clan, in addition to the special task of guarding the Ziwei North Palace, she had witnessed the strength of the 3-star lords a long time ago. Each of them was as strong as monsters. Even though Senior Ning was also as strong as a monster, what if the 3-star lords come at the same time? With Senior Ning's strength alone, how could he possibly contend with 3 monsters? He would definitely suffer a great loss. Father, Mother, please forgive me for being stubborn. I might do something that will bring shame to the Feng Nu clan today. If the 3-star lords really dare to bully Senior Ning with their numbers, I would rather detonate the token of the immortal sovereign to give Senior a chance to escape. Ji Fuyao held the token of immortal sovereign Ziwei tightly with her small hand, and waited as if she was facing a formidable enemy. She waited and waited, but the 3-star lords did not come at all. However, she did not know that the reason why Ning Fan's expression was solemn was not because of the 3-star lords, but because something had happened to the 10,000 spirit blood. In the past, when Ning Fan concocted the 10,000 spirit blood, he would usually concoct hundreds or thousands of them in a single cauldron. Moreover, each of them was the low-grade 10,000 spirit blood. The medicinal power of the low-grade 10,000 spirit blood was comparable to the 9 revolutions golden pill. However, the situation was a little different this time. It was still the same number of hundreds or thousands of them in a single cauldron. However, this time, Ning Fan clearly sensed that the low-grade 10,000 spirit blood in the cauldron were devouring each other and fusing with each other. Why was it like this? Ning Fan also had no idea, but it did not stop him from guessing. Perhaps it was because the cultivation level of the materials were higher this time, or maybe it was because he had perfectly sealed the baleful qi when he was refining the cauldron, not letting the baleful qi of the second-level quasi-saint realm baleful qi dissipate at all. In short, the changes were really happening. As Ning Fan had accelerated the flow of time in the cauldron, the speed at which the 10,000 spirit blood devoured each other was shockingly fast. In just 2 breaths' time, the number of 10,000 spirit blood in the cauldron had decreased to 300. After another 2 breaths' time, there were only 100 of them left. After that, there were 70, 50, 30. Eventually, there were only 2 remaining droplets of 10,000 spirit blood in the cauldron. One of them was the Yin pill while the other was the Yang pill. Among them, the Yin pill's medicinal power was extremely strong. It was 10 times stronger than the Yang pill. Due to the severe imbalance in the ratio of Yin and Yang, the last 2 droplets of 10,000 spirit blood could not fuse perfectly no matter what. However, this was not a problem for Ning Fan. What he cultivated was Yin and Yang. What he was best at was harmonizing things that were difficult to fuse. All of a sudden, he raised his hand and slapped the divine refining cauldron. That slap might seem ordinary, but it dispersed the Yin and Yang qi contained in the Yin and Yang pills. When he activated his ability again, the Yin and Yang qi in the cauldron turned into small black and white fishes that swam in the cauldron. Among them, there were 10 black fishes while the white fish was Yang, and there was only one. Ning Fan changed his ability again. The 11 Yin and Yang fishes forcefully fused together, turning into a gourd-shaped Yin-Yang Taiji diagram. The head of the gourd was Yang. Even though it was weak, it occupied a higher position. It used its superior position to suppress the Yin qi that was 10 times stronger and achieve a balance. At the moment when the balance was achieved, the last 2 droplets of 10,000 spirit blood finally fused into one. Rumble. A force of impact spread out from the cauldron and lifted the lid off. After that, a blood-red pill that was the size of a Dao fruit flew out from the cauldron and hovered in midair. It smells so good. Everyone in this place could smell the pill fragrance that assaulted their nostrils. That pill fragrance was like the fragrance of agarwood and sandalwood at the same time. It was extremely unique. After just taking a whiff of it, everyone felt 100 times more spirited. Even their cultivation base improved a little. It was hard to imagine how miraculous it would be if they ate a mouthful of this pill. Rumble. Suddenly, they heard the sound of thunder. Everyone raised their heads and saw a tribulation cloud of 10 colors that they had never heard of before in the sky above the Feng Nu clan. What kind of tribulation cloud is this? Could it be that it's going to strike the pill lightning? While everyone was guessing, the pill lightning had already condensed within the tribulation cloud. The pill lightning had 10 different colors. The destructive power it carried was enough to turn a few immortal emperors into ashes. If they let the pill lightning strike without any resistance, everyone here except Ning Fan and the old devil who was trapped under the Dao mountain of the Ant Lord would be turned into ashes. Hiss! What kind of pill lightning is this? Why is it so terrifying? This is bad. Let's leave now. We shouldn't stay here and get implicated. Cough. Old devil Zhao Jian has sealed the heaven and earth. We can't escape from here. Don't worry. The pill lightning will only appear to destroy the pill. That old devil Zhao Jian has spent a lot of effort to concoct this pill. How can he bear to destroy the pill? He will certainly try his best to resist the pill lightning. Even if old devil Zhao is standing in front of us, we still need to be extremely careful. We must not get hit by the residual waves of the pill lightning. While the foreign cultivators were feeling nervous, they suddenly saw Ning Fan summoning a lightning diagram. Then, a baby and a sparrow flew out from the diagram. They were the Dao Destruction Lightning Infant and the Ancestral Lightning Sparrow. This is great. Master has found us another delicacy. The baby and the sparrow were overjoyed. They rushed towards the pill lightning and finished it in just a few bites. Ning Fan kept the lightning diagram and waved his hand. The pill flew into his palm in a whirling motion. As it had just been taken out of the furnace, the pill was still boiling hot. Fortunately, it was not worth mentioning to Ning Fan. So this is the mid-grade 10,000 spirit blood. What a strong medicinal power. This medicinal power is almost at the level of a 10th revolution pill. Unfortunately, it is still a lot weaker than a real 10th revolution pill. Is it because the ratio of the Yin and Yang pills is seriously out of balance? Even though the Yin and Yang pills have merged after my mediation, it is still not perfect. There is actually the chi of the title on this pill. The title of rain, huh? If I consume this 10,000 spirit blood, I'm afraid I can directly cultivate the complete title of Rain. Ning Fan was a little happy. True Sovereign North Sea actually managed to refine the mid-grade 10,000 spirit blood just by casually refining it. His luck is really not bad. Unfortunately, before Ning Fan could feel happy for a while, a voice resounded from a distance of 1,000,000 li. Fellow Taoist, can you let me have a look at the pill in your hand? Old ancestor Chu Ping was riding a dragon boat towards them. He was still quite a distance away from the Feng Nu clan. That was why he transmitted his voice to them. No. Ning Fan said indifferently. If that's the case, I'm sorry to offend you. Old ancestor Chu Ping sighed softly. Almost as soon as his voice fell, Ning Fan felt an endless river that traveled across 1,000,000 li and drowned them. It was a river formed by Tao sense. Although it was not visible to the naked eye, it contained the Tao that old ancestor Chu Ping had cultivated throughout his life. This is the first level of my Tao sense. Its name is Milieu. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.